3, 2, 1. What's up, buddy?
Hi.
It's good to have you back.
It's so good to be back.
Yes, I'm very. I'm always pleased to have like a brand new guest, and really because like 90% of that is like me learning about you, right? It's like all new information and shit like that. But it's a different kind of joy when it's another one, like a returning episode. Then we're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Just having a good time, and that means you had a good enough time to want to come back. So,
oh my god.
Thank you.
I never wanted to leave the first time, and then like how we were just talking about like how well that like episode did. Like that was my first podcast ever, and like you were sending me things like about the like Instagram reel and like the stats, and I was like, okay, period, give me back. So ever since we scheduled this, which was like 2 months ago, I was like, I can't wait to be here.
So talking about blowing yourself up a little bit before we get started. Thank you for saying that on camera because people don't believe me that I have to schedule like months in advance.
Yeah, why don't people believe you?
I don't know.
Oh,
but I feel kind of bad because I've made a habit, unless it's someone that I know personally. Yeah, I made a habit to not schedule any longer than like 45 days out.
Okay.
Because again, it's not the biggest platform in the world, and it's not the biggest like reach in the world. So I think to some people it might come off as like, oh yeah, he's just kind of brushing me off. He'll get back to me eventually. When I'm when it's like July and I'm like, hey, yeah, I have availability in the back end of October. I promise. Like,
it's like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Exactly. But yeah, dude, it's been busy as shit around here.
I can tell you are like cluttering up my feed, like my timeline. I'm like, okay, are you gonna ever take a break? But it's also been getting me so like excited. I'm like watching these episodes, watching these clips, and I'm like, I want to be back. But you really are in like beast mode or something. Like,
yeah. Well,
what is up with that?
I think I just bit off a little because there was like a period of time. It's kind of slowing down now because I haven't been going out as much and I haven't really been doing a lot of like outreach. But there was a period of time because I think what happened was because I went like down for my surgery, and then when I came back out of it, I was like, okay, I need to like make up for lost time, and then I also like I was inching to do it. Yeah, like because I was really down for the count for like 2 weeks.
Oh wow!
Like can barely drive, like because I was like actually like immobilized for almost a week.
Wow.
After it, yeah, and then
what was it again?
Hernia.
Oh my god!
Yeah, hernia. Fucking sucked.
I thought that was like a 60-year-old thing.
Yeah, I thought so too. But apparently, dumb weightlifters get it all the time. And I was down and like I couldn't like sit like properly for like 3 weeks.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. So like when I would start going back to work, I was driving like first of all, driving was so unsafe because I was like reclined back super bad, and then I'd be at work like this.
Oh.
Just trying to like elevate myself.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't sit. Like I wouldn't be able to sit down for longer than like 45 minutes, hour at a time. I'd have to like get up and walk around and like ice my fucking stomach and shit. Oh yeah.
Did you have one of those donut ass cushions?
No, but I probably should have.
You should have.
I probably should have gotten a butt pad because, good Christ, it was bad. But yeah, I think that's what it was because, like, I think I did one 5 weeks, like just barely 5 weeks after I'd gone under the knife, and I was like, all right, this is like, and then started doing more outreach. I just really like clocked it up, and then I had booked myself out, and then I was like, oh fuck, I have like 3 podcasts a week, and I think I can do this. And I did, but like it was a busy fucking time. Like I haven't done, I've barely been doing any writing. Definitely haven't done stand up in like a month and a half. And then I got invited as a guest on 2 other podcasts, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's been busy.
That's exciting though. I mean, would you have it any other way?
No.
Exactly.
No. And that's the funny part is I was having this conversation with my buddies, and I was like, you know what? It wouldn't be as cumbersome if I didn't have a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like if this was my full-time job, I'd have so much time for everything else.
Well, you're in the phase right now where you are paying your dues so that one day this can be your full-time job.
That's exactly
you know what I'm
what
saying?
I'm telling myself.
So you just got to grind it out. Hernia, no hernia.
How the fuck have you been though?
I've been good, just as busy, I feel like, which is crazy. I don't know. Summer was wild, so I am coming down from that. I am finding God again. I strayed too far away from from his grace. So I was like, oh my God, let me sit my flat ass down.
I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today.
But I've been good. I was telling you earlier, well, I've gone out, but I haven't drank since the 4th of July. Shout out to that. So tomorrow will be however many months. I'm not doing the math right now, bitch.
That's fucking 3 months. That's 90 days. Yeah, that's
90. Not crazy?
That's 90 days sober. Yeah.
That is 33.33% of a pregnancy. And I think that that's extremely...
That's a funny way to put it.
That's very impressive for me. Been doing a lot of photography and videography, stuff like that, which is exciting. Because that's always given me anxiety, but I find that I do it more and more, and I kind of chill with it because it's something I take so personal. That's why I hardly ever promote it. I don't do anything for it because it's just I don't know if there's any artists watching. Artists get it. To make something and put it out there. Bitch, you need a really good therapist sometimes.
Well, I mean, I saw you taking shots at taking photos at Marble
Get it
Fest.
right.
Yeah.
Pictures are the only shots I take, bitch.
Yes. At Marble Fest.
Yes.
And you were fucking dialed in, dude. You were taking no shit from nobody.
Beast.
Because that place was fucking... There's probably a good 800 people there.
Yeah.
Would you say 600 to 800 people at any time?
Yeah, there were a lot of people there.
And you were moving through that crowd you were forcing your way through, dude.
I know.
And I respect the shit out of that.
Yeah.
No, I respect the shit out of that.
I always feel so bad about that, but then, I just tell myself, I'm you bitches pay to be here.
Yeah.
I got paid to be here.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So get the fuck out of my way.
Well, it'd be one thing if you were a patron and you're forcing your way through. So I'm that's one thing that's maybe a little bit rude, right?
Yeah.
But then, if you're working, you're actively trying to do a job that you've been paid for, people have an expectation of you.
I think it's rude to be in my way.
Yeah.
Because, the people there are probably going to consume the media that I'm creating.
Right.
So why fuck up my shot? You know what I mean?
Well, and you're walking around with a big camera. It's not it doesn't you have your iPhone out and you look like everybody else. No, you have an actual professional camera and you're moving with a purpose. So it's it's obvious.
But I think I'm going to invest in some shirts that say photographer on them. Just and a neon yellow vest. And a sign that says "I fight bitches." And maybe that'll help people just clear the path. But no, I usually do pretty good at navigating through the crowd. And Marble Fest was so fun.
Yeah.
That's when I shot the slums of Harvard. Shout out to the slum. Actually, matter of fact, there was a lot of controversy on last episode that I was here. Because a
controversy about this podcast that I wasn't privy to.
Yeah, because apparently I didn't give good shout outs. So let me go ahead and take care of that shit, right?
Jesus. Who was bitching?
Shout out to Raquel. Shout out to Becca. Bitches. Right. I don't want to hear another fucking word about it, ho. And I said it within 5 minutes of this shit. So
oh, Jesus Christ.
Shout out to y'all. Okay, now get off my dick. Shout out to Slums of Harvard. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to my dad. Shout out to Jesus Christ. Shout out to my cat. I recently got a cat. Shout out to... Who else can I shout out? I don't know. Yeah. Did I cover that? Did I get everybody? I'm trying to think.
That sounds good enough to me, man.
That sounds good enough to me. There was a lot of issues with that last time, but
and that's what that I was thinking about today, like all the mutual people that you and I know, and it's how Albuquerque's so fucking small.
Yeah.
I met Raquel for the first time back in like middle school.
Oh,
I think
that's crazy.
like maybe even middle school, because we went to the same church for a very brief amount of time.
Wow.
And then just through high school and when I started partying in college, it was kind of just like I knew who she was, but we weren't friends, right? And it was just like I would see her like off and on throughout. I was like, oh, okay, of course you're friends with the Sons of Harvard. Yes. And that's of course these things happen.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that's hilarious.
It's wild. Yeah. And I've known her for a year and some change.
I just think it's fucking hilarious.
It is.
But no, yeah, it was cool to see you out and working and doing Marvel Fest and shit like that. Yes. I'm glad you're getting out and doing more videography and photography.
That was actually my first time. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was my first time that I did video. Because the boys hit me and they were like, "Can you do video?" And I was like, "No, not really."
Nice.
But
you did it though.
I did, and it came out so good. I want to show you it, but I don't think I can. I was just talking to one of them earlier, but
whenever you're ready,
I'm like. Again, not to suck my own dick, but I'm like so proud of it.
No,
like for my first video, it's nothing. Don't think that it's like a Michael Bay production.
No,
but
it's probably better than a Michael Bay production. He makes shitty movies.
Yes.
But be proud of yourself, dude. Like seriously, be proud of the stuff that you're making, you're putting out. Even if it's not the end product is not as great as it probably could have been, it's your first time doing it.
Yeah.
You're gonna suck 99% of the time at anything you do for the first time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how I fucking felt. But no, that's how I feel about doing stand up right now. I am fucking garbage, but it's fun.
Stand up is so hard,
but it's fun.
Yeah.
So
What's the most fun part?
Making people laugh. Yeah, the laughter. No, dude, it's like I've never done cocaine. And I know I've never done it. No, that's facts. And I will never do it.
Cap.
Because I know I'll like it.
If your comedy career takes off, I guarantee you're going to be in the back of a club doing coke somewhere.
No, sir.
Every great comedian
because I know I'll like it too much. And the first laugh, like actual laugh that I got in my first show, that was such a different like euphoria.
Yeah.
I've never felt that before. Like I wish I could like capture that into a bottle and then just drink it every day.
Yes.
It's addicting. It is fucking and obviously it's really fucking like there was one, God Christ, I went to an open mic like 2 months ago and I signed up and I expected to go on within a certain amount of time, but people were taking a while on their set and the host really didn't give a shit because not that many people were there. So I thought I was going to have like a beer and a half between me signing up and me going up. Mm-hmm. Well, that turned into 3 beers and 4 whiskeys. And I was fucking not good. And then so I walk up there drunk as a skunk and just bomb along with the rest of them.
No. No.
Yeah, it was bad.
Oh my God. That's terrible. I did a version of like stand-up comedy growing up, which I told you about in the last podcast, like competitive speech, whatever bullshit. But like it was basically, I want to say basically stand-up comedy, except I was like acting and playing a character. But there was a live audience. You still have to understand comedic timing. I still wrote the punchlines and all of that. And I get that euphoric high of like making people laugh and like every joke landing. But when you don't. When you don't.
Yeah, I sobered up immediately during that. And it was funny because I bombed pretty hard on my second show and I was sober. I bombed pretty hard, but I didn't feel bad about it. I was like, fuck, like that sucked, move on, whatever. But in the moment, I was just like, okay, it's not hitting, move on. For whatever reason, bombing drunk was horrible for me.
Oh my God.
Oh, it was because I just like, I sobered up like very temporarily.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. I started with a tag. I did my setup like halfway through. What the fuck am I doing? As I'm speaking, I'm thinking this.
Yeah.
So, it was bad.
Oh my God. Bad. Do you remember when Tiffany Haddish did that? Do you know who Tiffany Haddish is?
Yeah, I know who she is. I haven't seen a ton of her stand-up, though. I know who she is.
It's not worth saying. But but there was a couple years ago when she like went out to party, got super hungover, and had a show the next day. She went drunk. Ooh. And I don't know if the show is sold out or whatever, but she bombed like.
And it's like a famous bomb.
famous bomb. Like she had to refund the whole everything,
no.
issue a public statement. It was like on CNN, like ET, like everywhere. It was terrible.
Ooh, that it must have been a taping or something. That's horrible.
Yeah.
God bless.
So at least you're getting it out of the way.
Yeah.
Early in your career.
And that's something a film school teacher told me like about a year or so ago, and I was still in film school because we were in a Zoom call, and he was basically just like he wanted to do at the beginning of the semester, like learn about the students and like what they were interested in, and yada yada, right? Because it was online, it was like a 6-person class.
Yeah.
And so we were talking, and one of the things that he said, he was like, one of the main functions, he goes, it was funny hearing this from a professor, but he goes, nothing about film school is necessary to a film career. Absolutely nothing. And I was like, okay, that's good to know, I guess.
Elaborate.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? But then he goes, one of the things that you will get out of it if you put in the work is you're going to get, hopefully, a good chunk of the shitty things you shoot are going to be done in film school.
Yes.
So that when you get out of film school and you start acting on networking you've done and you start actually trying to do something, you get some good shit out.
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I never studied photography, right? But I started shooting, in high school. Actually, I started shooting in high school, like for real, like making my own movies, music videos, started photography club, all of that stuff. And I mean, I'm glad those pictures and products never saw the light of day, but that's how you find your footing, right? Yeah. Like you have to crawl before you can walk. Exactly. Of course, like there's going to be some stumbles, there's going to be some bump in the roads. And I've never really thought of that sort of, I guess, that outlook of it, right? Because you see like some people who just like jump straight into the limelight. And you could tell, oh, baby, oh, no. You are still in the stroller. You can't walk, bitch. Like, you sit your ass down, you know?
And the best example of that comedy-wise is, do you know who Brendan Schaub is?
No.
Does that ring a bell? He used to be, he was like a mid-level UFC fighter, but he was really good friends, or he is really good friends, with Joe Rogan. Okay. And Joe Rogan pretty much gave him a career, and Brendan Schaub just squashed it. The long story short is he just fucking squashed it. And then there were rumors going around that he was trying to like actively cheat on his wife with other female comedians that were like top level female comedians. And so he basically took this like perfect opportunity of a career and just killed it.
I won't say that's what Tiffany Haddish did because she has some success, but Kevin Hart gave her hers,
okay, that makes sense.
And then she just same thing.
You know, I've been meaning to ask you this.
Yes.
With all the friends that you have that are in entertainment, and you have a very like outward personality.
Yes.
Why aren't you actively trying to do something on like the front side of entertainment? You know what I mean? Like, why aren't you on a stage doing something? Or making the attempt, because you have the personality for it. You do. I've always been curious about that. Are you not interested in it? Is it like I've thought about it, but maybe?
I think it's I've thought about it, but maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I love that question so much because I ask myself that all the time. Oh my god. Hey girl, how are you? I ask myself that all the time, and I even thought about it on the way over here because I think that like what you're doing is so iconic. I would love to have a show and everything like that. I really think. How do I say this without sounding like pompous? But I see myself as like a child star.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I say that because growing up, like I was always on stage. I was always in front of people. Like.
In what kind of capacity?
Like theater, like performing arts, even making music, like just all types of stuff. Like I was just always, I guess, wanting to be seen, okay with being seen, loving the limelight, even like going through a toxic phase of where I would like, just like start drama just to be a topic, God. Like, I mean, in college,
I just love the honesty.
I'm so serious. Oh, I've done a lot of reflecting. I had a YouTube channel when I was younger that my dad banned me from because I had a phone case that was it was a black cat and it had like ears on the top. And in the video, I was like, I got a new phone case, and I was like, look at my black pussy.
Oh, Jesus Christ! And how old were you?
Like 12.
Jesus. I get it.
And I had a TikTok page a couple years ago in college, went viral a couple of times. Actually went viral a couple of times, but I had to stop when I made one joke and then I was getting a lot of death threats. Like in the comments. Do you remember the joke? Yes.
What was it? What was it?
Oh my God. It was during the pandemic.
Uh-huh.
And everybody was complaining about like wearing their masks over their nose. And from my perspective, being who I am, I noticed that those complaints seemed to come from a particular demographic, a certain side of the political spectrum. So I made the joke. I was like, you say you can't breathe wearing your mask. How do you breathe wearing your white pointed hood? And that one covers your nose.
That's so stupid. Like, that's just a stupid joke.
Yes. And they were in my comments, they were like, oh, he wants chains to make a comeback.
Oh! Jesus.
How do you breathe without a dad?
Oh, my God.
Sleep with one eye open. They're going to find you in a tree.
Like, oh, my Christ.
It was crazy.
So you were making a joke and they were making comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then they came to my Instagram and it was messages and I was just like, oh my God. Plus when you go viral, like on TikTok, like TikTok puts you in a little box so you don't keep going viral because they don't want that many people in their creator fund. You know what I mean? There's like a
interesting. I didn't know that.
I studied the fuck out of it because I was like, Jesus. I literally just wanted to get famous enough so that I could meet Noah Beck. And
who's that?
Oh my God.
I have no idea.
TikTok daddy?
Yeah, I am so out of the purview of TikTok on purpose.
You have to know Noah Beck.
No. Yeah, I hate TikTok with a fiery passion. I have one and I try to post on it periodically with my like reels and shit. I just copy and paste from Instagram. But no, I fucking hate TikTok.
I feel like you should not hate TikTok as you are a public figure. That's Noah Beck.
Yeah. They don't know him.
That's not anyway, I know him. I know him. That's all that matters. But
anyway, you had these people.
I think it was just, it just became like a lot of anxiety. And then I kind of like realized during the pandemic and everything, like without being able to be in front of people, without performing or whatever, all of that stuff, I didn't really know who I was. And that sounds so corny, but I was like, I need, like, everything I had done felt so performative. Like, everything was always for a laugh. Everything was always for some credibility, some sort of, like, limelight. And I was like, who am I without this? And then also, I started struggling just with, like, I guess, self-image sort of things. And then it was like everything I was producing was trash. And that still lingers. That's actually a big reason why I don't, like, even promote that I do photography, because I'm just... like, admittedly, I don't want to say afraid of the judgment, because judgment's a part of life. You know what I'm saying? Like, judgment, in my opinion, it has a negative connotation where it's like, don't judge me. But, like, the fact of the matter is judgment can also be good. Like, if I say, oh, you look nice today, I just made a judgment. I think you are very nice. I just made a judgment, So I guess, like, if anyone does struggle with being judged, try to see it from that lens and just understand, like, you judge everyone. When you think somebody's outfit is nice, you're making a judgment.
Right.
If somebody thinks that you are a brokeback beluga whale, they are making a judgment. Like, I mean, so it just take it with a grain of salt,
I've been looking forward to talking to you, man. I needed to pick me up. That's funny.
But I don't know. I want to do something more in the limelight. It's kind of like, where is the time? But I think I've found myself again I'm starting to, let my nuts hang and like really just like feel myself. So I don't know. We may see. When I first had moved out here, I actually like reached out to some like local theaters and wanted to see about that, but I just wanted to do stage crew. I still didn't even want to be in the front, but just recent events in my life have actually kind of shown me that I just can't help it. Like, baby, I'm a star.
Yeah,
like
do it.
I don't know what you want from me. Like,
back when you were trying to figure it out, borderline struggling with it, since you said so much of what you're doing felt performative, do you feel like you were putting on a caricature of yourself even when you were having like just day-to-day personal interactions?
Back then or now?
Back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like
and
it
it
putting
did
on a face without even like not like subconsciously doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't even feel like the effort of, all right, time to be this person. Like, no, this is who I am now. This is how I'm going to act, regardless of how you actually felt about it at the time.
Yeah, definitely. I was a character, and I still struggle with that sometimes, but I'm a lot more mindful of it now, so I can like control it and make sure I'm always authentic. And like when people tell me like, "Oh, you were so real," or like your energy is just so authentic, like I love. Oh my god, like I love that because that was a struggle. I used to just do, anything for a laugh. I was a jerk. I could only make laughs by like ripping people apart.
Oh,
I don't know what that says about me, but
well, look, as dudes, there's a time and place for that, and that's 90% of guy interactions is just shitting on each other. And I feel like a big part of judging, I guess for better or worse, as men is like, can you take a joke? And then can you rhetoric back, right?
Yeah, here's the thing with that. One, keep in mind, I was a homosexual theater kid growing up. So I don't know if you thought I was like rolling with the jocks.
No, I'm just saying like, so, okay, I was rolling with the dorks, all right? I was the comic book nerd who stayed with his friends, played video games all day. But even then, there was still shit talking back and forth. I feel like it's just the general litmus test for guys, regardless of where you find yourself falling with your personal circles or whatever you do in your spare time. But just like that is just for dudes, right?
Yeah.
Like I have one of my closest friends from high school, Omar. Gay's day is long, but that motherfucker will tear you to shreds, lovingly, but he will rip you apart verbally, just because he has that like. Whatever that muscle in the brain is that knows like comedic timing and wordplay and that type of stuff, he just has it. Like
that, I will say a lot of that for me. It's like in the gay starter kit, like when you first realize it.
They welcome you into the club when you go to orientation. They give you the gay gift bag.
Yes, they hand it to you. It's like your burn. Do you know what a burn book is?
No, I don't.
Oh my god, have you not seen Mean Girls?
Oh, like you're like in high school.
What the fuck is wrong? Also, today is Mean Girls Day.
That's why I spent all my time on the October 3rd with Lindsay Lohan, right?
So thank you for booking me today.
Like he asked me what day it was, right?
It's October 3rd.
Yeah, that's what it is. Oh, yeah, that's funny.
Katie, tell Aaron his hair looks sexy. Push back.
Didn't they make a shitty sequel?
Your hair looks sexy. Push back. Yeah, they did. It was terrible. I've never seen it.
Remember that correctly? Okay.
I said it was terrible. I've never seen it. I saw it and I didn't want to see it again. But no, I don't know. A lot. It's in the gay starter kit for sure. I think a lot of it comes from like, comedy, in my opinion and in my experience, is cruel. Hear me out.
Okay. Okay.
If you like, for me, the humor that I like, the things that are funny, like it makes fun of like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Okay,
like
continue.
I'm a fan of satire. I'm a fan of like laughing at things that shouldn't be laughed at. And I feel like, gay people, right, are usually a target of abuse or bullying or, getting picked on, whatever. And sometimes may also not be in the physical like ability to defend themselves. So a lot of it is like being able to lash back really quick in protection of your pride.
Right.
So like a lot of gay people are very witty and they can tear you to shreds because that's how we like protect ourselves.
That's a defense mechanism.
It's a defense mechanism.
Right.
But then it makes us really funny.
Yeah. Right.
And then a lot of like, I mean, in my experience, like if you can make your bully laugh, like
right. Is he really your bully then?
Is he really your bully?
And then maybe they think twice and right. I agree with that. I would push back and say though that 99% of topics are laughable.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
If you
if you do it right.
If you do it right.
And so I remember I was asking I had this local comedian on. His name's Robert Gibson. His stage name is Buck D, but fucking hilarious guy. And he's been doing comedy for like 8 or 9 years now. Yeah. And we were on the podcast talking. I asked him kind of something along those lines. I was like, where is the line, or like where is like, okay, that's because the most offensive but effective and funny jokes are playing on the fact that you're saying something that everyone is thinking. And
yes.
And you're saying it in a laughable way.
Yes.
Right? Whether it's everything from suicide to abortion to 9/11 to transgender.
You're going to get this video flagged.
Like, fuck it, bro. Yeah. I just hit all the boxes, didn't I?
You literally, this video is not going to see the fucking line of
all the affected groups and George Bush. Yeah. So... Yeah. So, but I asked him that. I was like, where is the line between you just said something offensive and you just made a really great, well-crafted joke? Like, what's the difference? And he gave me a very short answer. It was like, is it funny?
Is it funny?
Is it funny? Because if it's not funny, it comes off as malicious. Yes. Now, granted, I feel like if you watch enough comedy and you see it and you expose yourself enough to whether it's in person or on the internet or on a streaming service, you can eventually, like, you can decipher, okay, that person's trying to be funny, but they just suck.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, they meant that. They meant, it's like those comments you got or those DMs you got. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, like he might actually take joy in seeing black people lynched. That's really bad. Like he's an actual racist, but he's hiding behind a microphone.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was really nervous, very nervous to do it. But I made a joke for my very first onstage joke was about the Little Mermaid. But
hold on.
Yeah, when I did the joke, I did it at they used to have an open mic, and I'm so sad they don't have it anymore. And Buck D was one of the hosts of it. They did an open mic for like 6 weeks this past summer at Inside Out. Okay. And it was sick. Like there was like 20 or 30 people that showed up, and I mean, obviously you get to do. I got to do comedy on the Inside Out stage. Like I'm happy about that.
Yeah,
that's a cool
That's a flex.
Yeah, it's a cool stage to be on.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I made a joke about the Little Mermaid, and then like I'd say out of the 20 people that were there, 5 of them laughed, but the 6th one was like the one black guy in the room.
Oh,
and he's a really good, I'm actually having him on the podcast on Thursday. Really nice guy. But he laughed at it. I'm like, all right, there's my validation. It wasn't offensive. Because I think a lot of, especially here in Albuquerque, I've noticed this. Especially like I try to be in the crowd as much as I can. Just like absorb, see how things are hitting, see how things aren't hitting. There are a lot of people here that are now I'm not saying it was a great, I out of 10, I would give my joke like a 6. It was like, that's funny.
Right.
Not like a, but I thought I was like, that's funny. Ha, move on. But I feel like there's a lot of people here that are either afraid to laugh at something that they think is funny, but they also think it could be offensive if they're seen laughing at it. And then there's people that just straight virtue signal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, I'm going to feel offended on behalf of whatever group is getting the joke punched at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can tell if someone is actually like offended. And I'd like to hear like your opinion on this, but like the number one indicator for me if someone's actually offended is they don't make a scene about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very internalized.
They don't make a scene. If they do something about it, they'll tell the person like off to the side personally. They'll say, hey, like, I get what you're doing, but that's kind of fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
The ones that go like, that's fucking, and you go to enough comedy shows, even the little ones here, you'll see it. I saw it fucking last week at they had a comedy show at Bourbon and Boots, and this chick thought that she could be fucking cool and heckle Buck D, and he tore her to fucking shreds. Oh yeah, tore her to fucking shreds. But the people that are like, I'm gonna act like I'm better. And obviously they've had like 3 or 4 drinks in them, so they think they're the shit.
Yeah.
And they just, it's funny to me because the people who actually like that actually take some kind of offense to something, they don't make a scene out of it.
It's I don't know. I'm still processing that, but I agree. Like, I feel like those people there's a word for it, but there's like this savior complex where they just want to like act like, oh, like I have a second cousin twice removed who's an amputee, and you just made a joke about the handicapped. And I, on behalf of him, fuck you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, honestly, if you brought your hobbly cousin to the show, I'm sure he would have laughed too. Like, you know,
hobbly, that's funny.
He probably would have given me a hand because he can't give me a leg. So
no, and that's what's funny too is if a joke is made and like if it's making fun of fucking disabled people or gay people or black people or fucking Mexicans or whatever it is, and the people that are a part of the joke are in the crowd and they laugh at it, it's like, come the fuck on.
Come the fuck on.
Come the fuck on.
Come the fuck on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, were we not finishing each other's sentences?
Yeah, maybe not. But no, it's just, I just find that funny. But I don't know, man. This is a very, the comedy here is growing, and it's really interesting to watch it grow. But to bring my point back around, and I wonder if you going through your period of sobriety ties into it at all. But when you come to a point where you find out, like, if you do want to branch out into new things or not, I would be interested to find where you go.
Yeah.
Because again, you have that and it makes complete sense. You did that as a kid, so you have the personality for it.
I've always wanted to do stand-up.
Oh, specifically stand-up.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
But I prefer to sit.
Hey, there's stools up there, motherfucker. For those of you on Spotify, he just had an aneurysm.
Oh, it was an orgasm. No. But I just like to make people, I don't know what I would do. I've thought about stand up before. During the pandemic, I was writing sets actually because like I was just in my room.
Yeah.
And I was like so sad. I was like, I need to make myself laugh. But I think, and I'm honestly sure you'll agree, but I feel like cancel culture has ruined comedy.
Oh, I disagree.
You disagree?
It did for a little bit. Not ruined it, but it put a damper on it for a little bit. But I think post-COVID, I think the best way I heard it put was by Ari Shaffir. He said it on one of Rogan's episodes like 3 years ago, I think. I think comedy's dangerous again.
Oh.
I think there's people. So for instance, in 2021, this fucking idiot, like low-level comic named Pang Dang. He's a Korean guy.
I've heard that.
Yeah, he tried canceling Tony Hinchcliffe,
who,
for my money, is one of the best comics right now.
Tony Hinchcliffe?
Yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe.
That's the name of a slave master.
Well, he has a podcast called Kill Tony, so do that what you will. But he, his podcast is called Kill Tony. It's a weekly show where they hold it at Rogan's Comedy Club now. And basically what they do, they have new guests on every week, and they let random people, it's an open mic pretty much, and they let people sign up, and they do 60 minutes of stand-up comedy, and they interview them. And there's people that fucking do amazing, there's people that bomb, there's like brand new stars that come out of this show. Like there's this new guy, his name's Cam Patterson. He started on Kill Tony like 2 months ago, and now he's on tour with Tony Hinchcliffe at sold out arenas.
Oh wow.
Like sold out because he's fucking hilarious.
Very cool.
He's fucking hilarious. But so back in 2021, they were doing a set in Austin, and the Asian guy opened for Hinchcliffe, and the entirety of the Asian guy's set was it was obviously jokes and people were laughing at it, but it was him bashing on white people.
Oh,
like
okay.
90% of it was him just bashing on white people and making jokes. Mm-hmm. So then. And then he was being very making overly friendly comments about Asian people, right? Like that was his back and forth for his set. So then when Hinchcliffe came up, he completely flipped it around, and he's known for being a roast comic. Like, he's known for his insult humor. So he turns it around, and he just goes full tilt. Oh. And he goes, give it up for that fucking chink, huh? But people start laughing at it because they get the joke. Right? They get the joke, and his delivery is obviously like he doesn't fucking mean it. He's making, and then he calls him that, but then he goes to the white people and he goes, "You people are laughing at him, making fun of you. You guys are a bunch of fucking race traitors. What the fuck?" But he's doing it like jokingly, and the crowd is like laughing at him. Well, the guy who opened for Hinchcliffe had somebody film him doing that, and they edited out parts of the clip of his set, and they turned down the audience reaction. So it looks like he's just saying, like, he said like the racial slur to nobody laughing, and then he called the crowd race traitors to nobody laughing, and then put it on social media. And then for some reason, the official like Twitter page of the Chinese government had this, or the Korean government had this this clip, and they put it up too. But the creepy part of it is they put the clip up before the comedian did. Yeah, so it's like, really? Did he fucking manage to get in contact with whoever runs the Korean government's Twitter page? Yeah, like he went for Tony's career.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, he went for his fucking career. And obviously it didn't affect him. Like there was like Netflix pulled down Hinchcliffe's special, and Hinchcliffe lost his manager, and there was a weird like 3 weeks there where it was like, oh shit, is he done? But he pulled himself up and just kept going and ignored the whole thing because he's like, no, it's a fucking joke. My comedian friends know that I'm joking, and I'm still selling out shows. So fuck these people.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? So the fact that, again, if you were to write down the things he said on paper and like show it in a courtroom, oh, it's hate speech.
Yeah.
But if you see it in context, it's dirty comedy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes.
It's dirty comedy because everybody's laughing at it. And he's doing it in a way, like his delivery is very, like I'll send you the full, because again, Ari Shaffir, he had, I guess, is weird coincidence, but he had somebody in the crowd filming the set as well. So he took the full unedited set and put it on YouTube, and it's literally called What the Media Doesn't Show You.
Okay.
And it's a full 40-minute set that includes the back end of the Asian guys and then Hinchcliffe's full set. Right. And it's like, yeah, he's obviously joking. People enjoyed it. And he didn't like stay on this stupid race stuff for a full hour-long set. He moved on from it because that was a momentary thing that happened. You're not supposed to be filming anyway. Because at a lot of bigger comedy shows now, if you go, they actually lock your phone up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because people have a habit of doing that now, right? Of taking just these, again, on paper, horrible things. And then that's where the cancel culture can destroy comedy.
Yeah.
But then I think that, and I think people are kind of turning around to it because of like podcasting, and comedy is so well accepted now. And it's not this like underground seedy thing that happens at like the basements of bars in New York or these small rooms in LA. Like it's a very widely accepted art form.
Yeah.
I think most people are waking up to the fact that if you go to a comedy show, you kind of need to be open-minded. You kind of need to go in with like, hey, I'm going to hear some offensive stuff. I might hear some really rude things, but take it under the guise of, okay, they're trying to make me laugh. Maybe especially here in Albuquerque, like in like towns where, I wouldn't even say just in Albuquerque, but if you're going to a show where if you don't know anybody on the lineup, if they weren't your friend and you didn't know who they were on the lineup, they're probably early into their comedy career and they're finding their footing.
Yeah.
They have an idea of what might be funny and they're trying to figure out how to deliver it, and maybe they fuck up that delivery. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say I think there is a balance.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if that guy and the other guy, the white guy and the Asian guy, were like friends, and he chose
they were working. Yeah, no, they were working colleagues.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like if they have that understanding, like I get it, and like it was kind of an underground, or not underground, but like a situation where it was meant to be raw.
Yeah.
And like kind of like provocative,
like pushing the envelope.
Yeah, absolutely. Then, I kind of get that, but I feel like, where that becomes now. See, okay, at first I was talking about it from like the comedian's perspective of like, oh, it's so hard to be funny because like you can't say anything, people will cancel you, right? But then also looking at it from the audience's perspective, which is where you have to find the balance. Is like if all your comedy relies on is you like saying racial slurs or just like these off the wall like crazy things,
right,
just to get a laugh. Again, hey, I used to do this. So like I'm from a point of accountability, right?
Yeah.
Like then you really have to ask yourself, like, are you actually that funny? Because like, I don't know. Like if let's say you and me were comedians and like we were like running sets back to back or whatever, and then you chose to like use the N-word in reference to me.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't fight you, but like
you would never work with me again.
No, and
oh no,
and you would have a hard time getting home with 4 flat tires.
Oh like, yeah, no, for sure. But that I feel like that is a bit of a difference, just because societally speaking, everyone has agreed.
Yes,
that is like the biggest no.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
that is like the biggest fucking no. You don't do that.
Yeah, I know. So I mean, there's definitely like there's a balance to it. But I mean, hey, if comedy is turning around, I was thinking about this the other day because comedy is one of those things where you don't necessarily have to start young. Like there are some things in the industry where you have to like start young, really get your footing and create a fan base from a young age. But like some legendary comedian, like Steve Harvey didn't do his first comedy set until he was 26.
Have you heard that guy's story?
Yes. Oh, I love Steve Harvey.
I heard him. I guess they filmed him speaking about it when they were in between commercial breaks on his daytime show. Mm-hmm. Holy fuck! How he literally had no money to ride the bus. He was and living in his
car.
Yeah,
and he had a speech impediment.
Yep. Yep.
No money, and I think it was it his barber? It was somebody he worked for or a family that took care of him. Something. I don't know. I'm going to have to watch it again. But somebody like gave him like damn near like $25 and was like, go do it. Like he needed $25 to perform or something. And they were like, I'll pay for you. Like, go do it. And that was his first show. And, he just like nailed it. Like, I think I love Steve Harvey. He's a bit controversial too, but.
Why?
Because of cancel culture.
He's a good dude.
I just I forgot what he did that was controversial. I think it was something that he said on his show, perhaps even jokes that he's made in the past,
Because he people don't know that. He used to be a dirty comic.
He was dirty.
He used to be a filthy, like a Richard Pryor level type comic.
I'm from Richard Pryor's hometown, by the way. Just so you know.
I did not know that.
Comedy runs in my blood.
Oh shit.
But I don't even know where I was going with that.
About Steve Harvey and how people were going after him.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know. People are just looking for a reason to cancel everybody. Do you remember when was it the 2020 election maybe? When Kathy Griffin held up Trump's decapitated head.
So that was the 2016.
2016. That's what I thought.
That's an interesting one.
What are your thoughts on that? I'm so curious.
That came up on a podcast like 3 months ago, I think. That's funny you say that. I cannot remember who the fuck I was talking about that with. But that's an interesting one just because, that shows two things, I think. And back then, I was like a full on like Trump supporter back then. Oh yeah, back then I really was.
Okay.
And I saw that and I thought, okay, well, also I was like 18, 19 and dumb. But I remember looking at that and thinking, I still believe this 100%. That's not the best thing you can put on your social media platforms, but that shows how great this country is. Because you do that anywhere else, you get killed. You get imprisoned. Are you kidding me?
I guess. If you do that in North Korea.
Yeah, well, in North Korea, if you have internet access, you get fucking imprisoned, apparently.
If you get an erection, they slaughter you.
Dude, have you heard the stories from Yeonmi Park?
Yes.
Where she talks about like if your house is burning down, the first thing you have to save is the picture. Yeah. What the fuck? But
everybody has to say thank you to the picture before they eat.
Yeah, like if you if you're in these communist or socialist countries and you decide to put a picture around of you holding the severed bloody head of your not even president, of your leader, that's what they refer to them as, a leader.
Yeah.
You're either in prison for life or dead. In America, you lose 100,000 followers. You know what I mean?
She lost her whole career, but
she kind of bounced back from that because
she did.
Oh yeah. It took a little bit because even the liberals were like, "Whoa, that's a bit much." But no, she is. I promise you, she is just fine.
And you want to know what's so funny is like the liberals are like, it was so much. I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, and a lot of people. Well, that's the thing. Is like a lot of people didn't.
I just thought it was a form of art.
Yeah, and
like a political statement and free speech. Right?
And fair enough, because a lot of people back then felt like, and I think a lot of this is due to the way the media spins narratives, and I think it's the way that the media, radicalize is not the right word. The way the media trivializes things, right? They turned that election into basically just a reality TV show. And a lot of people bought way too much into it. And they legitimately thought that if Donald Trump got elected, it would be the end of not just America, but the end of the world.
Well, yeah.
That it would be this just apocalyptic event that America would burn down and the UN would crumble and Russia would take over and all these things that did not happen. But that's what people thought. So then you have someone who was very ingrained in the liberal side of whether it's the political sphere or just culturally. She was very, and fair enough. I mean, have your political views. I don't really care, but she has very left-leaning views, and so she thought that was the right thing to do. And again,
interesting.
I just didn't really give a shit that much.
Me neither.
I mean, there were people on the right that absolutely fucking exploded over it and took it. I never took it as a death threat.
Me neither.
Right. I took it. I took it personally. I took it as a public figure pushing things.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I thought it was.
That was it. I was like, she just doesn't like him.
Now, granted, if she did that and it turned out that like the FBI and the CIA had been like following her for 6 months because they thought she had like actual plans to kill Trump and they found like manifestos and shit.
Okay.
Or if it was some crazy guy that posted that picture. Like there was a dude, it was right around maybe like a month and a half ago during the first Republican debate. This guy had gone on his social media, like he was in like Virginia or like the backwoods of Virginia or West Virginia or some shit like that. And he had put on his Facebook like, yeah, I'm going to go kill President Joe Biden. And I have all these like stockpile of this, and this. And he like, it's this like 58, 60-year-old dude who just kept posting these things. So the U.S. Marshals in the area decided to like pay him a visit. And they saw him moving around all this stuff, and they're like, oh, like he actually has like everything he's saying he has. So they called in like the FBI and all this craziness to go lock. And the dude's like in prison right now awaiting trial.
That's crazy.
Because he actually meant it.
He meant it.
Like I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, but I'm not out to get the guy. That dude was. Right? So if that was the case with Kathy Griffin, then obviously there's an issue there.
Yeah.
But she was just, again, I think she was just a public figure who thought that this was the right way to make a name for herself. And you got to think as well, 2015 going into 2016, that was really when social media was starting to peak. In big favor to Trump, because of Trump, too. Because Trump used social media to win the election. Yeah. I don't think that's even a question.
No.
Right? Like him and his team found a way to weaponize it.
Oh my God.
And just turn it into a voting machine.
Marketing genius.
Exactly. And so that I didn't take it as anything more radical than, again, both, or I guess like the Fox News, the right-wing media wanted it to be.
Right.
You know, they wanted to. Like if this was 2,000 years ago, they would have fucking tried to crucify that woman.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
A couple previous thoughts that I had, and then a question for you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
One, when you were like, people thought Trump was gonna, like, it was gonna be the end of the world. I was one of those people. I remember I was telling my white friends, I was like, I don't want to be a slave again. And then I was asking them, I was like, will you buy me and set me free if Trump?
You buy me?
will you fucking order me and fucking
your Uber
set
Eats.
me free, please, if Trump becomes fucking president. I remember that was a legitimate conversation that I had. Yeah. Now I literally was like, please, you can keep me for like a month. Just no hitting, please. I'll clean. I'll do what you need. I'll cut your grass.
Oh my god.
But then after a month, please just set me free. I was one of those people. Yeah. Second thing that I had about the Kathy Griffin thing, I feel like if you like know Kathy and also her following, it just made sense to me. Maybe I had just like known her. I always loved Kathy because she was just so provocative. I love provocativeness.
Well, see,
I don't know.
Well, that's what's funny is because I didn't know who the fuck she was, and then after that, I was like, oh, well, she has a history of kind of saying and doing out of pocket shit in the public sphere.
She showed her coochie on Jay Leno, or someone.
Well,
like that.
There you go. Well, there you go.
But you know, she has a predominantly gay following, and at the time, Trump's rhetoric was not really in favor of the gays, you know, or like any minority group for that matter. And so
remind me, because I remember the big quote that everyone took from him was about people coming across the southern border.
Yeah.
In which I agree. He did not I know what he was trying to say, but he did not deliver that in a remotely good way at all. And and there's an argument for and against whether or not that was on purpose.
I think it was on purpose. And I'm not a Trump supporter. However, I respect him.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, Trump pulled the fucking curtain back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you just have to respect that in a way because, like, when you think of politicians, right, we all know it's smoke and mirrors, right?
Oh, we're seeing it now
all
more
bullshit.
than ever.
They say one thing, do another, yada, yada, yada. Trump said, and this is what the fuck I said, and this is what the fuck I meant. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? How can you not respect that? Like, isn't that what you would want from somebody who's leading your country? Like, secrets. Like, this is my intention. This is how I feel about these people. And if you elect me, this is what I'm going to do about it.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Like, why wouldn't you want that?
Exactly.
I think I interrupted you, though.
No. I was just saying, like, what... So, I know what he said about Mexicans and just Latin Americans in general.
Yeah.
Right? Do you remember what his rhetoric or, like, some of the talking points he had about the homosexual or just otherwise LGBT community?
Yeah, well, he didn't support gay marriage, right? And Obama had done a lot to give the gay community like progress in that sense. Like a lot of states were like turning the bill. Gay marriage was starting to be recognized more more widely throughout the country. And then Trump was like, "Oh, we're turning that shit around." But then he was also very just brutally open about how he felt about the transgender community. And, you know, it worked for his audience, right? Like he was like, no, like there's only man or woman and we shouldn't be, you know, letting kids do this or whatever. And you can think about that, whatever you want to think about that. But he was just very open about it. Like he was like, marriage is a man and a woman. Transsexuality, transgenderness, whatever, like it's not fucking real, like shit like that. So, you know, Kathy's audience is predominantly gay men. And, you know, of course, with the gays comes the rest of the community.
That's funny. Okay, no, continue, because I have a question to you about that, but that's funny.
And you know, for her audience, you know, it worked. It's like, it's not nearly the same as the TikTok that I made that I referenced earlier about the white pointed hood. But like for my audience knew like I was a double minority and I was like I was a little on the raunchy side with my comedy. So when I made that joke on my TikTok, my audience ate it up. I mean, they ate it up. That's how it got big enough to get to Trump's side of TikTok. And then all those death threats and the hate comments and stuff came from everybody who had Trump 2020 in their bio and like, you know, the Confederate flag as their profile picture and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of what happened to Kathy, except, I mean, she just went.
She went for it like full tilt.
Yeah.
And I just asked because I remember headlines from the left side of things about how Trump hates gay people, Trump hates transgenders. But then I remember watching Trump giving speeches like after all that happened. And I only remember this because the dude, God bless him, but when he tries to enunciate, he turns into his own meme. Because I remember him giving speeches and he was like, and we will always support the LGBTQ. And it's like the way his lips would just pucker, right? And so I just remember him like campaigning on like trying to say that he supported all these affected people.
Yeah.
And again, I just remember that as an example of the left and the right just going like this. And I feel like there's about a half truth on each side. For the left, I feel like maybe there was something he said that was either directly targeting or could have been taken as offensive towards that group. And then I think on the right of things, maybe he did say something that was wrong. He was trying to put it the right way. And then I remember him campaigning in favor of stuff like that. One question, because you kind of just referred to it a little bit. Do you think, because this is slowly becoming a conversation, do you think gay people, meaning gay and lesbian, right?
Okay.
Should they be in the same group as transgenders?
Oh, wow.
Because I think that because people, and it's funny, not even people on the right, people in like the moderate and in the like the independent side of things are starting to talk out about this and be like, hey, that's like, because that's been the big, I think, vehicle for the transgender discussion. And I would honestly say with the way things are going, like borderline radicalization of it, from the left, I think that's the vehicle they've been using to get that into the like public zeitgeist, is using LGBTQ, and then they tack on the extra letters. And I don't say that out of disrespect. I just don't know what the other letters are. It's like LG. The last time I checked, it was like LGBTQIA.
P.
Okay. Yeah. My point exactly, right? Like what the is
M.
Okay, my point exactly. We can just say all 26 letters and just fill in the blanks. You know what I mean?
There's not a Z.
But not yet. but the reason I ask is being gay and having a specific type of sexuality and then being transgender are so completely separate. I guess in my point of view. Should they be put together?
Wow, I love that question. It's so thought-provoking. You know, I don't know if I hold any jurisdiction to say whether or not they should be put together, but I will...
I wouldn't say jurisdiction, it's just an opinion.
Just to, like, I guess, shine light on it and maybe, like, broaden the field of view. I can understand why they are put together. Because I'm sure we've all heard, right? Like sexuality is a spectrum. And in that spectrum, there comes a lot of self-discovery, right? And a lot of transgender people at one point thought they were just gay. You know? Like they thought they were just, I'm just gay, I'm just more on the feminine side, you know, and then slowly through self-discovery, experience, you know, whatever, they were like, you know what, I just feel like I'm in the wrong body. So because for many of those people, the experience is more of a gradient rather than going from just black to white, I think it makes sense that they're all grouped together because a lot of that experience, a lot of that self-discovery is shared amongst our community, as well as the being misunderstood, as well as the taunting, the bullying, as well as our cultural references and our pop icons and divas and the people that we look up to that make us feel free, you know, in the places where we can go to relate to each other and celebrate, there's a lot of similarities. So it makes sense that the trans community would be grouped in with those who know their sex, gender. Oh, did I just get canceled? Those who know their gender, you know, but have a different sexual orientation.
Interesting.
Boom. Period. T baby for president.
So I would agree with you if it wasn't for like the rising group of people that are like I think they're being called detransitioners right now.
Spell it.
Oh. Dude, okay, key memory, middle school, 7th grade. I was the only boy in the spelling bee.
Love that.
And I fucked up I think I fucked up like ration.
Oh.
Or like
No.
either way, it was a word that ended in TION. But I was under so much pressure, I said TOIN, and I felt it coming out. Right, and I was like, "Oh my god, I fucked up!" And then and mind you, I went to a very, very small Lutheran school.
Oh no,
that was kindergarten through 8th grade, and there was one class per grade, so very small, right?
Wow.
Very small. So I remember it was Wednesday, and on Wednesday mornings we had a church service, but instead of the church service, they did like the finals for the spelling bee, and of course it came down to the fucking 7th and the 8th graders, but they were all girls.
Oh.
And I remember I was sitting in a pew. I got up, I went to use the restroom, and I came back, and my favorite fucking teacher, it was funny because they had teachers teach like multiple subjects, and they would like rotate classes instead of the classes rotating to different teachers.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
His name was Mr. Rickards. Funny motherfucker. Very sarcastic. I remember walking up, and he goes, "Hey, Noah, come here." And he leans and he goes, "You should have been up there, right?" And I was like,
no,
fuck, you're right. You're right. And I went and said, yeah, key memory. Anyway.
Wait, I also have a similar key memory
Go ahead.
that I'd like to share.
Oh, go ahead.
6th grade spelling bee.
Oh, shit.
It wasn't even the actual fucking spelling bee. It was the preliminary to decide who would be in the fucking spelling bee. And I just want you to know, again, not to suck my own dick, but I went to a gifted school.
I think you mentioned that last time. Yeah.
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 And my word was balcony.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I thought the language of origin was Italy. So I finished balcony with O-N-I.
Oh, no. Oh, no. See, I was too stupid to ask language of origin. Like, I wouldn't even...
So was I, apparently. And, it was extra embarrassing as well, because at the time I lived in an apartment.
With a balcony?
I couldn't even go home in fucking peace.
Oh,
I went home and I was
Jesus.
surrounded by the shit.
That's hilarious.
I was telling my neighbors, do you know that this thing ends in a fucking Y? Did you know that? It's BALCONY.
That's funny.
That's when the depression started. But So you were talking about the...
Yeah. So I would agree with you if it weren't for the growing... And again, it's still like very much a minority because I'd imagine it's very hard for these people to say like, hey, I had this gender reassignment surgery at whatever age, whether they were an adult or not, and I regret it now. Because of the cultural conversation where it is right now, I'd imagine it's very hard to say that. Yeah. But that group of people is slowly growing. And I really, really wish that the hyper right, like political or like not even, like public figures, like the Ben Shapiro's and the Matt Walsh's, I really wish they would leave those people alone. Like I get, like it'd be one thing if they were just like reposting their stuff or like talking about it in a normal civilized way and just giving them a platform. That'd be one thing. But I think that as time goes on, this group of people is gonna grow. But at the same time, if the public figures on the right keep taking these people and their stories, because they do this thing where 70% of them exposing their story or like showing out their story is them saying what happened, describing what's going on, and showing the clips or like interviewing them. And then the last 30% is using their story to weaponize it against the transgender community. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that last part is not necessary. We already see the damage that is done to these people because they feel that it's damage done to them. We don't need to add salt to the wound on why you believe this group of people are now evil because of how these people feel. Like, because again, there are people like the example I like using is Ellen Page, who is now like Elliot Page, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe.
It appears, at least, granted, this person is only like in the first like 3 years of their like full transition. And I gotta say, especially, and this is very biased, but especially after doing that fucking stupid ass bodybuilding competition, you know how jealous I am that she got fucking ab implants, or they got fucking ab implants and is throwing that shit on social media. I worked for those fucking abs, son. That shit took 4.5 months of work. Ugh.
My God.
And now I got pudge. So what are you gonna do?
In one surgery.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. What, you throw $10,000 at the right doctor, now you got a 6-pack?
Well,
Anyway, but no, my point is with bringing this person up is, for all intents and purposes, and again, social media is very deceiving, but it appears that they are happier post-transition than they claim to be pre-transition.
Right.
And fair enough. Like, if that is what, if that was the missing part of your life, or if that was the thing that really helped like close the loop on some issues you had, whether it was identity problems or self-image, whatever the fuck it was, fair enough, right?
Yeah.
You're an adult, make your decisions. But it appears that, and again, I really do think that group of people is going to grow where, and again, just like I said on the right, where they take the transitioners and they weaponize their stories. I feel like the left does the same thing with people that transition, and they take their stories and they only show the perceived positives of it. They're not showing the ugly truths, right? Like, where it's these, like, and specifically with women that go to, or females that go to male, right? Like, they're never going to have the ability to have kids again, right? They're never going to have, like, they're going to have to be on hormone therapy for the rest of their lives. And I don't think people really grasp how much of a burden that is. Like, that is, like, myself, I'm going to have to be on hormone therapy for the rest of my fucking life because I have extremely low testosterone.
Oh.
And I don't know why it happened. And I guess the funny thing is like, oh, it was the COVID shot. I really don't believe it was that.
Oh.
But for whatever reason, I have extremely low testosterone. So I have to be on TRT as a fucking 26. Well, I started when I was 25, but as a 26-year-old for the rest of my fucking life. I'm not on a cycle right now. I'm gonna have to get on here in about a month or so. But it's a literal pain in the ass. When I put a fucking needle in my ass.
Oh my God.
Right? So it's like, I couldn't imagine what it's like for these women that had to transition when they're getting full mastectomies, hysterectomies, and now they're taking tests, they're taking estrogen blockers, they're taking what was the third?
You got it. It's right there.
The third main one. It'll come to me at like 2 a.m. when I'm trying to sleep. You know what I mean? So I really wish that on both sides they would just take this issue and not, like, the genie's out of the bottle already.
Yeah.
You know, but I wish just from the beginning of they wouldn't have weaponized it.
Yeah.
And just like leave it to see what happens. But then that also, in my opinion, that opens the conversation of, well, how corrupt is our big pharma?
Oh.
Right? Because everything we're starting to learn about big pharma.
Now, hold on now.
Right? Like, removing, even acting as if COVID never happened. Just a big corruption of how, okay, and people are starting to find this out because people are talking about it, like, on podcasts, like the big ones. But your doctor, every time you get prescribed a medication, whether it's a like a penicillin, amoxicillin, or ibuprofen, that's like the stronger ibuprofens, from those all the way to antipsychotics and hormone therapies and painkillers, they get a cut of what they just prescribed to you.
Absolutely.
So it's like, if you have this, and I hate to reduce a group of people to this, but like, no, for real, but like, if you have a whole new market of buyers in this thing called transgenderism, where's your incentive not to exploit it?
Oh my God. Play the conspiracy music.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, it all, for me, it all lines up. And then to circle this back around to my original question, I just really think that the left used the legitimate struggle. I'm not saying that transgenders don't have like legitimate issues, but like the original the original struggle of the gay community, right? They used that as a vehicle. They just tacked on transgenderism as like the caboose to that train and let it pull into the same station.
I mean, maybe that I could see that, right? Like that perspective. But, I feel like the more that I learn about LGBTQ history, right? Like even before the Stonewall, right? Have you seen this show called Pose on Netflix?
No.
You should watch it. It probably would never come up in your recommended.
What's it called?
Pose.
Pose?
Yes. And it takes place in, I believe it's like the 70s or 80s. Right? It's in New York.
You are correct. It would not show up in my Netflix queue. You are
right.
My Netflix queue is all action movies and stand up, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's cool. It's not a true story by any means. But
Ryan Murphy, the guy from fucking American Horror Story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's really it's beautifully done. It's a really great show, and it was legendary in the gay community. Anyway, it tells a lot of true stories. It's not a true story itself, but it tells.
It adapts.
True story. It adapts. Yeah.
Right.
About the come up for the gay community, and even as you look back and you find more and more articles and you learn about it, like a lot of the gay movement was led by transgender people, particularly black ones. Shout out to that. But a lot of that movement was led by transgender women.
So you bring up, you briefly brought up Stonewall. Was that, so is these stories taking place in the 60s?
On Pose?
Yeah.
No. It's like in the, it's during the AIDS epidemic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's actually telling
because Stonewall's in the 60s, right? Or am I remembering that incorrectly? I'm gonna look that up too.
Look it up.
I'm fairly certain that was the 60s.
Damn it, where's Joe when you need him? Joey. No, well, this story takes place during the AIDS epidemic, and it also highlights something called ballroom. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like underground.
I was right, 1969.
Look at you, Jeopardy.
Look at that.
But I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is like being a member of the community, it wouldn't feel right to say that transgenderism or the transgender people should be separate or their own entity away from LGB, because so much of what the LGB, etc., has was led by, transgender leaders who were like, that is just like such a whammy to me because like, especially during that time, like being black was a hindrance. Being queer was a hindrance, and then to be like, to not sound distasteful, but to be like a man in woman's clothing, right, was a hindrance, etc. All of these things.
To participate in any kind of drag or cross-dressing, right,
and publicly,
right,
and to lead a whole group of people like out of the darkness, like, I think transgender people deserve a seat at the table with the entire queer community, because we're at the end of the day we're all just queer. So I don't know.
No,
at the end of the day we're just queer.
That's fucking hilarious.
We're all just queer. Some of us just dress a little different. Some of us sound funny.
Oh, that's fucking great.
That's it.
Do you? That's interesting. You just made this pop into my head. Do you ever feel a responsibility or like anything more than just an inkling or an urge to learn about the history of not only just being a African American but being gay? Like,
oh my God.
Do you ever like feel a responsibility to like learn that history of like those two groups, not only in this country but just in general?
I should feel it more. I feel like I'm not much of a history buff myself.
Yeah. And
I think it's because I'm a very empathetic person, and a lot of history for people like me is rather sad. So sometimes it's a little hard. I also hate reading.
Again, that's why I love talking to you, dude, is the brutal honesty.
Like, I just really fucking hate reading so much. Jesus Christ, I'd rather just fucking jerk off. But
that was the caveman brain of you speaking right there, because again, thousands and thousands or millions of years ago, that was, I would rather breed than read the stone tablet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ooga ooga, let's fuck. But I definitely think that I should. And, whenever it's brought to me or I have the opportunity to learn it, oh my God, I truly indulge. In college, I went on several leadership retreats just throughout the country. And it was the focus of being a leader is to, be able to empathize with different groups of people. And so in doing that, I got to serve homeless communities. I got to go to historical landmarks that were a part of Black history and American history, of course, and as well as queer history too. And the stories, the perspectives, and all of it, it's super interesting. So I try not to take it for granted when it's there, but I'm not as proactive as I should be in studying it. But I definitely, sometimes I'm just one of those people, I'm just like, why read about history when I can create history? So
That's funny.
I am history.
That's funny.
So
well, in one way or another, this is very true. This is going to stay on the internet forever, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see, right?
Yeah.
But no, I asked that because, for myself, like, and some people agree with me, then other people take it as fucking heresy, and and somewhere in the middle. But I really don't care that much about my Mexican heritage.
Really?
Not really. I've never really felt like and maybe a lot of it is because I didn't spend maybe I did a little bit when I was growing up, maybe to like the age of 10, 11-ish. I was spending some time here and there with my dad's side of the family. Mm-hmm. But I never really associated myself with it. Like, I have the general gist of what was going on, like the Spaniards coming up and shit like that. But and all the heinous things that happened. But I just never really I never felt, and maybe it was also because I grew up with a single mom that was white. But I never had an inkling or any sort of outward influence to learn about that kind of stuff. And then when I did, funny enough, the first time that I did is when I went to military school for high school. Mm-hmm. And the military school that I went to has a fuck ton of Mexicans. A shit ton of Mexicans. Oh. Yeah, no, some of my best friends that are Mexican are from fucking Mexico. It's not just that. Yeah, they're fucking amazing guys.
Actually Mexican.
Yeah, legit, purebred Mexicans. Purebred. Yeah. And so, but what was, and the reason for that is because the governor of Sonora, Mexico, he was an alumni of the school, and he made an agreement back in the 90s, I think, with the school where it was like, hey, we're going to help you guys out with funding, and in return, you're going to give residents of, I think it got expanded to all of Mexico, but I know for a long period of time, it was residents of Sonora get in-state tuition. Okay. Which is like a $15,000 discount. Wow. Yeah, it's fucking retarded how fucking expensive that school is. But anyway, so there were a ton of kids straight from Mexico, and then becoming friends with them. And then every year during Mexico's Independence Day, they held this whole fucking celebration for it. And I was like, oh well, that was really the only real outward influence I ever had to maybe look into the shit. And even then, I didn't get anywhere past the food. I found the food and it was amazing, and I stopped there. I was like, that's all I need to know right there. That's fucking amazing ass food.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Say your last name.
Well, the white people, and the way I say it is just Vargas, but with the Mexican accent is Vargas.
I wanted you to say how you would say it because that was gotta tell me whether or not.
I just say it Vargas, dude.
Wow, yeah, you're.
And even then, yeah, exactly. I don't say it with when I introduce myself or whether it's a personal or professional setting. I just say Noah Vargas.
So, do you think how do I put this? That gives me so many thoughts. that it makes me like have questions, right? So first question is, do you think you not feeling motivated or inspired to study your Mexican history is somewhat of a luxury because you're so white passing?
Okay, so define white passing, and then I'll answer your question. I've never heard that.
You look like a white man.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
To me,
yeah,
you look
dude,
like a
I'm
white man.
Mexican. No, yeah, I'm Mexican, but I'm not the most brown Mexican out
Yeah.
there. Oh, yeah. No, I know that. No, I guess I never really cared that much because I always identified myself as American. No.
That's the most white.
No, yeah, no. And then, no, but I always had, but then, well, let me finish, right? Let me finish. But growing up, I always had an issue with the term, like, okay, so, and Andrew Schultz, I heard him, I found an old clip from a podcast he did years ago. And he had put it the best way possible, but it's a way that I've been thinking really since, like, because really when I went to high school, and they were like, and that was like the best thing, like that school was the best thing I ever could have done in my life, and I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to go there, because I was meeting kids, like I was from Mexico, but I was meeting kids that were from fucking like parts of Europe, Korea, fucking China, like I met a couple Canadians, you know, like I like just yeah no my favorite, I gotta say my favorite like group of people that I met, the fucking Samoans.
Love Samoans.
Those people are not that everyone wasn't, but like they made a conscious effort and then some to be the nicest, most friendly people. I mean, and most of my friends that I made that were Samoan were these like, and again, you gotta remember, these guys were in college. They were like 18, 19, 20 years old, young. These motherfuckers were like 225, 250, 280-pound football players.
Huge.
And you look at them and you think, oh, you're going to eat me for breakfast. Then they open their mouth and they just want to give you a big bear hug.
Sweetest people.
The nicest people in the fucking world.
And they're beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The small women are fucking out there. Yes. Oh, yeah. But my point in saying that is like growing up, I always had an issue with, not an issue, but it always kind of like it didn't register in my head why it was like, okay, generally speaking, white people are Americans. But then black people are African Americans. Generally, brown people are Mexican Americans or Latin Americans. And then there's like the Samoan Americans, Asian Americans, stuff like that.
Okay.
And I get the Native American thing because again, they were fucking here first. So by definition, Native Americans. Like that one always made sense to me. But the other ones were like, okay, why? I thought the whole point of America is that we're a country of immigrants. And no matter where we came from, we're American. I definitely, on a personal level, identify with your heritage, like your history, your bloodlines, wherever you came from, 100%. But especially as time has gone on, it almost sounds like, and again, the way it's portrayed by the media, right? It's always, like for me, I've never heard African or Mexican or Asian American as like an uplifting thing. It's always been like a subjugated thing.
Oh, okay.
Like they are this kind of American or they are that kind of American. That always kind of bugged me.
Okay.
Right? And so to kind of pull it all together, I never really, like, I recognize, like, okay, yeah, my dad's side of the family is like very, very fucking Mexican. My dad's dad was from Chihuahua, and then I'm pretty sure it's Chihuahua. And then my dad's mother, she was from Mexico City.
Okay.
And then they immigrated up together, right?
Yeah.
So I get that. Like, they are like straight up from the fucking motherland. Like, yeah, that makes sense to me. But I never understood why there was such an emphasis on where people were from, because I thought the end goal was American. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Because I feel that way, and I felt that way just because, again, as time has gone on, like in the public sphere,
yeah,
right? It's never been like like again, the way it's been portrayed to me, it's not like they're doing it in an uplifting way.
Yeah.
It's the people in those specific groups that take pride in their heritage. But when it becomes a public conversation, it's like, okay, there's Americans and everybody else. That's what I had an issue with, for sure.
Okay.
That never registered with me properly.
Okay. Well, I feel like that, so, between like being white and being American, I think there's a difference because
Okay, so sorry, my last point. Because then with white people just being called American, why aren't they called European Americans?
There we go.
You know what I mean? That was the last point I wanted to get to. I was trying to buy myself some time to figure out what my last point was. That was it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Why is it not European Americans?
Exactly.
Right? Because if we're all playing fair square, that's what it should be. But no, it's...
Native Americans, in my opinion, should just be called Americans.
If you're talking about the strictest definition, yeah.
And everyone else is a transplant.
Right, yeah. But that's... And again, with how insane this country's gotten over the last 8 years or so, the end goal really should just be Americans.
Yeah.
Because we're going through a rough time right now, but I still think we're the best country on the face of the planet. I still think we're on the top.
We're definitely top 50.
But I still believe we're number one. But we are on a steady fucking decline. And I think a lot of it is due to the loss of patriotism. Like a true patriotism for what makes this country great and what can be done in this country. And that is not excusing the extreme corruption and the extreme history of violence and racism. But I still believe, and I think that's shown too. I think the day that people stop risking their lives to come to this country will show you how far we've fallen from grace. And if at the track we're going, we'll be alive for that. We might be in walkers and shit, but we'll be alive for that.
I know. I don't know. But no, I wanted to ask you that because it's actually kind of okay. Let me give a disclaimer here. I have no idea what it's like to be a transgender person. But I feel like the reason I asked you, I was like, do you not feel like it be necessary to study your Mexican side? Because like when you look in the mirror, you don't really see that. Like, I don't know what you see when you look in the mirror, but when I look at you, like, if you didn't tell me your last name, I would be like, oh yeah, like that's
it's a white guy.
And right, like, with the whole transgender experience, it's always a matter of like what you see in the mirror doesn't match who you are internally. Right. And so,
right. I see where you're going with that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, do you think it would be a little different? And this is just getting you to think outside the box. I'm not judging at all.
But no.
If you like looked in the mirror and you had, like a freaking like mariachi mustache. Fucking like.
I definitely can't have one, but yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, you just looked like how you were saying your friends, like just.
I look like the guy in the Tapatio bottle, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like you were born with a sombrero on your head.
Yeah, right.
Like, if you looked in the mirror and you saw that, like, do you think there would be more of an inkling to be like, you know what, I this is the group that I identify with because I can't really not fit in, but like, I mean, this is who I am.
This is who I am, right? I don't know. I really don't know. No? I think there's an argument to be made for that for sure. Provided, let me think. Because what I was gonna say kind of just cancels each other out. So what I was gonna say is if I had the same parents but just look different, but that doesn't make fucking sense.
Yeah. That's how you know it's a good question.
That doesn't make fucking sense. If I had, I wonder. I think the answer to that question lies in what values I was brought up in.
Yeah,
because I was raised. Even from my Mexican side of the family, I was raised to love America.
Oh, okay.
Right? I was raised that this is a great country and here's why and all this kind of stuff, right? Now, if I was raised, because I know a lot of my friends that have either come to America for education or that have come to America with their family and permanently lived here. I know a lot of them have been raised as, hey, Mexico will always be our family's home. You need to learn about it and have a love for Mexico, but you still need to maintain a level of patriotism and respect for America.
Okay.
Right? I know a lot of people like that.
Absolutely.
That have been raised like that. So I can kind of see that. So maybe that would have pushed me towards that. But yeah, I mean, again, even with the outward influence that I had going to high school and being surrounded by a bunch of people that were directly from Mexico, and I had a lot of because that's what like that's what my nickname in high school was, Vergas.
Okay.
Because do you know what verga means in Spanish?
Green.
Dicks.
Oh.
Verde is green,
Oh.
but verda is dicks or cocks.
Oh.
Because my last name is Vargas and it sounds like Vergas, so I was called Vergas. Right. And it was
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Because, as you know, I'm a transplant in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Where I'm from, we don't say a la verga or whatever.
Yeah. So if you hear...
What does that mean?
Yeah. So if you hear someone saying a la verga, if you directly transfer that, or translate that, it means like to the dick.
To the dick?
Yeah.
I thought it meant, oh my God.
Yeah, but that's what it means in slang. Like in Spanish slang, it's like saying what the fuck. Or it's like saying, it's like saying what the fuck is wrong with you, or are you fucking kidding me? That's what it means in like Mexican slang.
But the dick?
Yeah, but it's like saying, oh, you fucking dick. It's like saying that.
Wow. Okay.
But Allah means like of or to the or something like that, right?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So if you hear someone saying a la verga, that's what that means. So again, my freshman year of high school, when all the Mexican kids saw because we all wore our last names on our uniform, because it was like a military school. It was a military school, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so we had our last names on. So we all called each other by our last names. And then when the Mexican kids that were my friends, when they found out that I had Mexican background but couldn't speak Spanish, they called me Vergas, like to my face. They called me that until I figured it out, right? And then I figured it out. I was like, oh, you fucking assholes. All right. So, even with that background of learning, of like having that very small influence back and forth, I mean, it got me interested, but it didn't really like sink in, I guess. And then also at the same time, I was like, again, I was 14 and stupid, 15, like 14 to 18 and stupid. And I was like, okay, well, I'm having this great influence on that type of shit. But with my spare time, I want to fucking read comic books and play video games with my buddies. Yeah. And that's all I want to fucking do. I'm not going to take the time to read about fucking, Spain and then how Mexico was all this stuff with the Aztecs and all this bullshit and then how they came up.
I'd rather jerk off.
Exactly. Yeah, especially back then. I could not give less of a fuck. But yeah, that's an interesting way to put it, the way how you see yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way of putting it. Because, like, I recognize that I'm half white, half Mexican, but but in the same hand, I really don't give a fuck about learning about European history.
Yeah, okay.
I don't really give a fuck about learning about like the British colonial. The only like British colonial history I know about is the fact that we beat them, and then we made America. Like that's all the shit that I know, and I just don't really give a fuck that much.
Okay.
So yeah, so it goes both ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all I know is that like I recognize where both sides of my family have come from, and it's like directly like my grandparents on my dad's side are from Mexico, and my grandparents from my mom's side are from fucking like traced back to Europe and fucking Germany and shit. So it's like down the middle, 50-50.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, I can not give a fuck about each of you equally, and I can just move on with my life. But
that's interesting.
And the reason I asked you is just because, like, obviously the black community and then the LGBT community is so like, I don't even know if this is a word, but conversationalized.
Okay.
Like
talked about
in
a lot?
media. Yeah, like they are always like put to the forefront, and I think. I think a lot of it, and we talked about this a little bit last time, but I think a lot of it is exploitive. You know what I mean? Because they know that it'll get clicks. They know it'll get whatever for both positive and negative, whether it's articles or videos, right? You always see that in the media. So I wonder if, obviously I'm not a part of either of those communities. So it's like, I wonder if there's like any type of like inkling or if you kind of about like a need, I guess, to learn about like, okay, well, where did all this start? Why does it start? Why are we being talked about so much?
Yeah.
Other than because obviously, like you've experienced and you've told me about it. You've experienced even like today we're talking about the fucking comments that you've gotten, the messages you've gotten, and we mentioned a little bit last time about how like on just growing up you experienced racism and the like the bigotry, right? So it's like, oh, okay, so why the fuck am I being treated like this?
Yeah.
Like what the fuck is going on?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like so, like a buddy of mine, Dom, he had gone and he's just like me. He's actually Spanish. Like, his family comes from, like, fucking Spain and shit, but his last name is, we call him fucking, if we say his last name is Barreras, but it's pronounced Barreras. And he's whiter than I am. But he has, like, that Spanish last name, family comes from there. Well, he has a little bit of brown to him, but not a lot, right? But he went to Arkansas, and this is back in, like, 2017. He goes to Arkansas. Him and his an old buddy of ours, we're not friends with him anymore, but they went out to a house party, and a couple of drunk white dudes went up to Dom and like, hey, Spick, where are you from?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And it's like, oh, like racism. Like that's actual like racism.
That's crazy.
Right? But it's like, I remember him telling me and all our friends about that when he came back. It's just never something we thought about because we obviously grew up in this like hyper Mexican, Hispanic, Spanish culture. And so for me, that was the first time I ever thought about like, oh, if I went somewhere else, that is like in people's minds.
That is actually what I was going to ask you. That was my second question from what I asked you earlier. But also being around, I guess, just like a lot of Hispanic and Mexican and Spanish. I want to include everybody. Being around all of that culture, like growing up.
Yeah.
I wonder if that had any sort of impact on your identity. Not particularly negative or positive, but just I wonder what that impact was because, you know, for me growing up, I grew up around, there were more people where I'm from that looked like me than there are here.
Yeah.
However, I was still very much the minority, especially like in the groups that I just like rolled in, right?
Right, yeah.
So there was always this disconnect with me where it's like I see all these people, like nobody looks like me and they make it very clear that I don't look like them. You know what I mean? So like I go home and I'm like, who am I? What is my experience? Like how, you know, whatever.
Interesting.
So I was just really curious about that. I don't even know how to phrase that question.
I know what you're getting at.
You know what I mean?
And I think it didn't have an effect on me. It like did not.
Did not.
Yeah, because I never really registered that everyone, especially like when I would spend time, because my parents got divorced at a very young age. So like when I would spend time at my dad's house with his family, it was always like, yeah, everyone in this house, everyone in this neighborhood, Mexican as fuck. Okay, who cares? Right? You know what I mean? It was never like a thing. It never really registered. And then when I lived with my mom, especially like when I was growing up on the west side, bunch of white people.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, well, this is the white side of my family. Or this is the white side of like my life. Never really gave a fuck about it because it was like, I was never like until I went to military school, I was never in like a super mixed environment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It was always like, okay, white, brown. That's all it really was.
Yeah.
Until so my grandparents, my mom's side, her dad and then her stepmom, when I was growing up, they lived in El Paso, Texas. Mm-hmm. And as my grandfather grew older, this is about like 2016-ish, 16, because they're from Alabama. So he was like, okay, I'm getting old. I'm going to die soon. I want to go die in Alabama. I don't want to, because he had moved.
Who wants to die in Alabama?
Well, that's where he's from.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's where he's from.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I should have said that first. Yeah, he's from Alabama, loves Alabama.
Christ,
like,
dream bigger.
Yeah, like that's like what he loved. Like he loves like he was an alumni of the college, like Crimson Tide and all that shit. Like that's his fucking heart and soul.
Wow.
So he was like, all right, I'm getting in my late 70s. I'm gonna go fucking do that. So they all moved to Alabama, and then I remember the first holiday season, I think it was Thanksgiving of like 2016, or maybe it was 15. I don't know, one of those years. I go out to Alabama to visit them for the first time, and I borrow my grandmother's car, and my uncle lived out there with him. And my uncle worked at this, it was like part gun store, part pawn shop setup. Mm-hmm. And so I just hop in the car, drive down there, I get out, and when I walked in the door, have you seen the fucking SpongeBob movie? Yes. Where SpongeBob and Patrick walk into the bar, and everyone stops and stares at him?
Yeah.
That's what it was like. And so all these white people just stop what they were doing. They put their guns down and just fucking stare at me. And I was like, all right, this is strange. I didn't register what was happening. Okay. And I walked to the front. I walked to the front desk, and my uncle walked over. I remember this. He walks over, and he looks up and around at the room, and he goes, "Oh yeah, he's cool." Yeah. And yeah. And,
my God.
And it still didn't register. And I was like, all right, whatever. All right, yeah, how's it going? We like shot shit. He showed me around, and we were just talking shit.
Yeah.
And as he was showing me around the store, I was like, oh, right, we're in Alabama. Racism, like actual racism.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
That's
and
crazy.
that was one of my, and then that makes like the story my buddy told me. That was like the first exposure. Like, oh, that's right. Like that is like what happens when you leave your. Like, if we were to take this back again, like thousands of years, your tribe, right? You leave your environment and you go out. Like, that's what you experience. That makes sense.
That's wild.
Yeah. I look at back on it as a funny experience. And at the time, I was just real fucking confused until it snaps into place.
What was your, like, military experience like? I don't know much about that about you.
Can't talk about it yet.
Oh, period.
Yeah, can't talk about it yet.
It's the greatest thing ever, right?
Oh,
Best
yeah.
choice you ever made?
Oh, dude. Like...
Any opportunity to serve your country, you will take
Oh,
it.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It was 100%. So awesome. Can't wait. You know what? Actually, I'm going to bring up a funny, handy-dandy little app. In 44 days...
Oh, not the countdown.
I will be able to talk about that with you left, right, and center.
Okay.
But until then, we will... Yeah.
Table it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting time. It's funny because like, again, I do, that's why I don't bring it up a lot or ever, because I don't like dancing, as you know by now. I don't like dancing around subjects.
Yeah.
My plan, because there's a lot of people that's in my unit and they know that I have the podcast now. A lot of them follow it and shit like that. And I've had one of them on, actually, real nice guy. And whenever I go to drill, some of them ask about it. But like the number one question I get, because they all know I'm getting out, and they're like, "Are you going to talk shit?" And my answer is always no. Well, here's why though. Here's why.
Okay.
I'm going to tell the truth about what the positives and the negatives that I've had.
Okay.
And I think I'm safe to say that because in every work environment there are positives and negatives.
That's a very political answer.
Yes, it is. But the reason I say that too, like the reason I say that to them, is because I never want to be the guy that's just talking shit on camera and complaining.
Oh, okay.
I don't like people that complain. You know what I mean? Like I get venting, I get expressing negative emotions that you have. That's one thing.
Of course.
But complaining is presenting problems without a solution.
I hate complainers.
You know what I mean?
I do.
So I don't want to be this like, yeah, you know what, this is da-da-da-da-da. Like, no, I don't want that. So my plan, and I'm going to talk to him here in a couple weeks about it. An old buddy of mine, he was active duty, and now he's stationed here in Albuquerque as a recruiter.
Oh, okay.
And anybody who has looked at anything about the military right now knows that the recruiting numbers are absolutely fucking tanking. Like, it is horrible.
Well, it has to do with, like you said earlier, the falling or the decline of patriotism.
There's a lot of reasons. A lot of them I can't say because I just don't want this to be the one that gets me. But there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And rather than me bitching about my experience or me like basically saying things that can be taken out of context or be conflated or whatever it is, I want to sit down with somebody who's A, still in it, and B, their primary objective in life is to get people to sign up. What issues are you having? What issues have you had? Like not only just in the recruiting life, but your personal career. He was with the 82nd Airborne, who has a huge history in the military, like huge history dating back like way past World War II. They're one of the only active duty units right now that still do like jumping out of airplanes, like airborne deployments, shit like that. Like they have a rich history.
Wow.
And he loves it. Well, he loved doing that. He doesn't enjoy recruiting too much, but he loves doing that.
Right.
And so I want to talk to him and use that again as a vehicle to express my positives and negatives. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Rather than me bitching about it, I'd rather have someone to bounce that off of. Like, okay, well, this is why I'm making certain decisions. This is what certain things happen to me. And like, how do you digest that? How would you tackle that? Because I think he became like a staff sergeant or something like that, which is an E6, which is you're in charge of like 10 people or so, a squad leader. And he was in an infantry unit, a way more badass and better infantry unit than I was in, but he was an infantry unit, like boots on the ground, killing bad guys unit.
Wow.
So that's his thing. So
that's crazy.
And so I want to talk to him about that kind of stuff related back to my story, give that back and forth rather than just being here like an asshole on a mic.
Right.
And it's like,
well, that's what you are anyway.
Fuck. But I like doing that about things outside of my personal issues. That's the goal, man, is I want to talk shit professionally.
You're an asshole on the mic anyway. So. No, I guess, well, first, you saying that just made me think of, I don't know how this always...
Continue. I'm just going to check the cameras
yeah.
and shit. Yeah.
I don't know how this always gets onto my feed, but I love those videos where it's in the military and somebody goes up and asks like are they not sergeants, but I guess the little milities are they called? I don't know. The militants, the militants. I don't know. Anyway, they're like,
why? Soldiers?
Oh, the soldiers.
I mean, you could say militants. Like, that is a term. Yeah. Yeah, like, militants is a term. Yeah.
I love when they ask them, like, why'd you join the military? And all these kids are like, I don't fucking know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They're like, the worst fucking choice I ever fucking made. Yeah. Like, I just think that's really interesting. But no, it was a poorly phrased question when I asked you, but I was curious because, when we were talking about experiences with like diversity and everything, you mentioned that you hadn't been in like a melting pot of different cultures, backgrounds, diversities until you got to the military. So I was wondering, like, what was that like?
It was fucking awesome. No, it was the shit because like growing up here in Albuquerque, it was just Mexican and white people.
Yeah.
Like there were a couple of black kids in my school.
Were you afraid though?
Huh?
Were you afraid?
No.
Because people are afraid of things that are different.
No. Well, okay, so I was nervous about going to somewhere for an extended period of time that wasn't my house.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't necessarily like who I was gonna be around. It was just like, fuck, I'm not at my house anymore.
Not at my house,
what the fuck is this? And I was young and very immature. And my mom, like when she was raising me, it was very sheltered.
Yeah.
Like very like hyper Christian, sheltered.
Oh.
Like Harry Potter's the devil, like that type of shit.
Wow.
Yeah. Which I like vehemently disagree with.
You have such a great vocabulary.
Oh, thank you.
I just really...
Thank you.
I love the words you use.
I appreciate that. But yeah, I just disagree with so much because I saw firsthand and felt it, how it affected me at 14 years old when somewhere new. And I was like, where the fuck am I? What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then it took me about a week to acclimate. I'm like, oh, this is not bad.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah, this isn't really that. I mean, yeah, they're like beating the shit out of us and like hazing us and shit.
Oh.
But that's the culture. Like that's what it is. It's dudes being dudes. All right, whatever. And then like, I made my friends, and they're still like my lifelong friends. Like Joey, me and him went to military school together. Oh yeah.
I love that.
Oh yeah. So it was like, yeah, me and all like some of my best friends, with maybe the exception of 3 people, were all from that school.
That's cool.
So it was like, all right, this is actually not that bad. And then like I ended up just growing up there. Again, outside of that, just the culture shock of not living at home, I fucking loved it. Like that was, and I know a lot, and that's kind of like I guess it's like a bit of a heartbreaking thing when I have my friends on that went to military school with me now, because 90% of them did not have the experience I did. Like they all look back on it, and again, hindsight, is very subjective.
Yeah.
But they all look back on it with such a negative outlook. There's always the common denominator of I'm glad that I met the people that I did, and I'm glad for my friends and all that kind of stuff, which is very true. Like I remember they had a parents' night type thing for prospective students and people who were going to be at the school, right? They would hold out in Albuquerque all the time. That was their biggest market. And they had like the principal and like the superintendent. They have like a couple of alumni come through, and they would talk at these dinners and be like, yeah, like these motherfuckers like 50, 60 years old. And they're like, yeah, the people that I'm closest with today outside of my wife or my husband are my friends from this school. You're gonna make lifelong friends. Da, da, da. And you think about that as like a 13-year-old, like, yeah, sure, whatever. I can't even grasp the idea of lifelong anything. Yeah. Right. But then, let's see, it's 2023, so it's been 6 years since I graduated, and yeah, the best friends that I have now are from that place.
Yeah,
I look back on that place and I recognize all the shitty things that happened and all the shitty times, but I look back on it and I see mostly good.
Okay,
like I see mostly really awesome things and awesome experiences and awesome like months at a time that I wish I could go back and just relive, because that shit was fucking awesome. But as far as like being exposed to new things, new people, and new ideas, I mean, like, I was still like, even through like, and then I guess in college, like a little bit, I was growing out of my shell socially because I kind of had to. But I was very much like a shy kid. I had my group of friends. I stayed to myself. I wasn't very outgoing. I had small girlfriends here and there, but like they got annoyed with me inside 2 months because they realized how much of a dork I was, So, and again, I didn't really have as much of a purview to give a shit about that.
Yeah.
So whenever I got broken up with, I was like, sounds good, and I just fucked off.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, whatever.
I love it.
Yeah, but yeah, it was fucking amazing because that planted. I clearly see that like that planted the seed to who I am today.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like I'm the guy now that like I want to go and like talk to people, learn about things, have like shoot the shit with people and like just have a good time. And I feel like I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't have like the foundation of like, okay, I'm sitting in an Arabic 1 class freshman year of high school, and I've got people from like southern New Mexico here, fucking South Korea here, Europe, Germany, Samoa, fucking all these different, walks of life that like I definitely wouldn't have had if I went. 'Cause I think if I would have stayed, I would have gone to Cibola High School.
Okay.
And then I would have
say okay like I know.
And then I would have went to school on the west side, and then and my mom moved to the east side my junior year of high school, and I would have went to high school over there.
Wow.
And I know who I am as a person, and I definitely wouldn't have signed up. That's a fact. That is a damn
What's wrong
fact.
with them?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Because I would have smoked way too much weed in high school.
Okay.
I just know who I would have been. I would have been the guy that just hangs out. I probably wouldn't have cared because at the time, like growing up, my dad, like to a very like violent degree, pushed fitness and like weightlifting and that type of shit on me.
Okay.
And again, as a fucking 4-year-old to 7-year-old, 9-year-old, I don't get that shit.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about that, right?
Yeah.
But then when I go to a military school and I'm literally living on the same campus as like football players, like college level, like collegiate football players and track runners and all this type of shit that's going on, like athletic people that are around me, and a bunch of my buddies, like I became friends with people again just through association. But yeah, I was friends with people who were freshmen and sophomores, but as a freshman, I was friends with seniors.
Right.
And these motherfuckers are like fucking. They know about fucking what protein shakes are, and they know how to weight lift, and a few of them are on fucking steroids. Oh. So it's like, oh, I'm with a bunch of jacked ass dudes, and I'm like 120. Oh. I should probably learn how to lift weights.
Yeah.
Right? So it was like that environment that kind of set the foundation for who I am today for sure.
Okay.
I would be a fucking burnout now. I would have like no work ethic. Oh, yeah.
I love that.
I'm very, very thankful for that experience.
That's good.
Yeah.
How do you see yourself? Describe yourself in one word.
For everyone on Spotify, I just poured myself my final drink of the evening.
A very stiff drink.
Yeah.
It's a heavy pour, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's see. In one word?
In one word. Okay, fine, 5.
5.
But you have to make it a sentence.
I can't count that high. I'll stick with 1.
Okay.
Enduring.
Good word.
I'd like to see myself that way.
Okay. And why?
Well, because I try to do the right thing.
Okay.
I try. I recognize that I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognize that I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've consciously made mistakes. But I, generally speaking, I try to do the right thing. And then when I do the wrong thing, I try to make up for it.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to like, I guess like professional settings, right? Like when, I've said this before. I'm fairly certain I've said it to you. Like doing the podcast, this is one of the most like selfish things I do, because I'd have, obviously I'm a very low level creator. I have nobody telling me who I should have, who I shouldn't have, what things to talk about, what things not to talk about. Like all of the parameters and all the left and right limits that I set are set up for me, right? They're set for myself. I don't set any of those for the guest, right? Obviously, you can tell me what the fuck you want.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit, right? And if I don't know the answer to it, I will at least give you an idea of what I might think.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like when I go and do this, because I'm specifically choosing people that I want to talk to, maybe not at a specific time. Maybe if they're like the musicians that I've had on, or comedians, if they have shows coming up, or if they have like music releases, I'll help promote that. Like I just got done doing a huge promotion for Legion Iron.
Yeah.
Because I fucking love that gym. Like I will never not promote that gym, because I was so close with the original owner. So obviously I'll help out that way. But everything that I do with this is 100% like what I want to do. There's no outward influence, and there's never gonna be. So I go into doing this, and I sit down with people going into it with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
And I do it. I just do it with the best of intentions. Like I'm not here to like, I've had a couple people, and understandably so, just how like culture is today and social media, and like I have a fucking real issue with like podcasts like Fresh and Fit and like the Whatever podcast. Like I have a real issue with those guys.
What about Call Her Daddy?
That's an interesting one. I don't know how I feel about that one. I think don't tell me her name. Alex Cooper. I think she knows her exact audience, and she plays to it.
She does.
And fair enough.
Very well.
I can't hate on that at all.
At all.
It's not for me.
Right.
Like I used to listen to her like during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because when I was starting this podcast, I was like, yeah, I kind of want to. I do want to get the female perspective. You're the most popular female podcaster right now, and I'm pretty sure she still is.
Yeah, she's been.
Even after that big split happened between her and what was her the brunette, the brunette girl who just went viral for saying that she looks at her like date's bank account or some shit. You see that?
I did it.
Yeah, she was doing her podcast, and she was like, yeah, the last 3 guys that I've went on dates with, I've asked to see their bank account immediately.
Oh my God.
But the long form, and again, this is like the breadcrumbs to it, like and the importance of a long form podcast, right?
Yeah.
The reason she said that is she was like, I'm hyper successful. I have all this money. I want a guy to match me. And it's like, okay, I don't agree with it, but I see the breadcrumbs that led you to your end thought. I see what you're saying.
It's a bit aggressive.
But again, to reduce somebody to a number and to a bank account on the first date, that's a bit much.
It saves a lot of time.
It does, but that's the other side of it, right? Is that it saves time, right? But again, and it's not for me to say it's right or wrong, but for you to put so much value on money in a person, that'll never be me.
Yeah.
And that's just not who I am.
Yeah.
But I also am not a millionaire. Period. So who the fuck knows, right? Maybe, right? maybe again, going back to how I see myself, even if I do make some of that fuck you money, I don't think my value is going to get placed on how much money my future girlfriend, fiance, wife, whoever brings. I think it's going to be more placed on how do you present yourself.
But I also think that that's a male perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
yeah, for sure. Because
you strike me as a breadwinner.
Because she wants to be with someone who could be a better provider than she can, which is a very classic feminine trait.
Absolutely.
So fair enough.
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. Fuck. What was your original question?
The word that you'd use to describe yourself, which is enduring. Which, by the way, for the illiterate side of your audience. I just want to read the definition is continuing or long-lasting, remain in existence, to last. It also means to suffer patiently. So.
That's a fucking move. Oh my God. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. There is a lot of that going on right now. A lot of that going on right now. I kind of hate that.
I really love that. You need to put that on a shirt. Like, suffer patiently.
Suffer patient. Well, I think
patient sufferance.
You know what, dude? And that's like for all the negatives that come with the like the red pill stuff on the internet, right? The hypermasculine shit. Yeah. Well, there are some negatives with that, but like I think one of the best things that is teaching, because at the end of the day, to suffer patiently, that's a direct thought line from Stoicism. That is directly, right? And I think for all of the wrong things that come out of the red pill movement from social media, I think that's one of the best things, is teaching men that to be as close to Stoicism as possible means a better life. Now, granted, you're going to go through pain. You're going to suffer patiently, right? You're going to endure hardship, but you don't endure hardship. You don't endure horrible things properly without getting a better result. You can endure horrible things wrongly, right? That's addiction. That's substance abuse. Eventually suicide, right? That's eventually what all that leads to, whether it's suicide by your own hand or indirectly.
Wow.
Right? Ruining your life.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of wisdom, I guess, to that, to suffer patiently. And I think that applies to women too.
Oh, of course.
I mean, because again, women get their heart broken. Women have horrible things happen to them just as much. And I think, again, I can't speak to the female experience, but I would imagine, right, because again, no one is truly altruistic, but being as much as you can a potential wife, a potential partner to somebody, and being as altruistic as you can, and weeding through the hordes of horrible men. Yeah, that's got to take your toll, right? Because I mean, preach. You know what I mean? Like that can just be a thing for women and.
Not just women.
Right, yeah. For the sake of the argument, but yeah, I think that's a very human characteristic and a human. Yeah, to suffer patiently, I think that's a very natural suffrage that people are consciously trying to get away from.
Yes,
and it's not good. It's not good for you. I think
try to get away from suffering.
Yes, like obviously, you should take care of yourself, and I think that's what it is, right? You should take care of yourself, keep yourself healthy, make conscious decisions to better your life. Yeah. But in doing that, there's going to be suffering. Are you going to take the suffering of discipline or the suffering of comfort? Because comfort has its own suffering too.
What is it? I want to know.
Yeah. So
what is comfortable suffering?
So you never evolve. You never change.
Oh, okay.
You never get better. Oh you never learn anything new.
Aren't you just a fucking philosopher?
Well, it's a very corny statement. I forget who fucking said it. But imagine if because everyone says oh, you die and then you go to heaven, you meet St. Peter or whatever. But imagine if you died at heaven's gates. Right,
I was in line to meet Jesus.
Well, right, yeah, you meet Jesus, but
where's Jesus?
It's like if St. Peter's at the gates, letting you into heaven, right?
Okay, he's just a bouncer.
Yeah, that's funny.
St. Peter's the bouncer.
Yeah, it's a very Catholic thing, but yeah. So anyway, but imagine if before you went to heaven, you saw the best version of yourself.
Yes,
and it wasn't you. And then it's oh shit, I could have done something really cool.
Oh my God, send me back.
Right? Wait, I know what the cheat codes are. Hang on. Don't get her pregnant. No, right? But you know what I mean? So it's Hey, it's a very corny thing to say because a lot of people say that, but it's like, imagine if you met the better version of yourself and it's not you.
Yeah. But how can you get... So I'm following your thought here, right? And
Yeah.
I want to make it a complete thought. So how do you get... Do you think suffrage is the way to the better version of yourself?
I think it's a piece of it. I mean, I
would agree.
I don't think you should
have to
like...
go through trials and tribulations.
Yeah. I don't
shed
think...
skin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think you should actively seek out horrible situations for yourself. Like, I don't think you should like be like that's self-destruction, right?
Yes.
Like that's like, oh, I know I shouldn't go do this thing, but I'm gonna do it anyway. See what happens. Like, no, that's a very immature way of thinking. But I think whether it's taking up a second job because you know you need more money, or going back to school because you know that if you get a certain degree in your career field, you're gonna double your income.
Yeah.
Or starting a small business because you know you have the ability. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of burden on your family. But if you have the right partner to do that with, you know, you can go and make something better for the holistic, you know, the family unit, right? Maybe it's leaving your fucking hometown, right? Or it's starting a new artistic endeavor or whatever the fuck it is. Even
I get it.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think there's... And then I think there's like a baseline of self-care that you have to do for yourself that involves its own type of suffering.
Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
it's the suffering of action and the suffering of inaction. Like for me personally, I haven't been to the gym in 3 days and I'm feeling it.
Yep.
Like I know where my mental state goes. I know how my body feels. I know what happens if I don't take care of myself properly, whether it's my training or my diet or my vitamin, like whatever, my supplementation. Certainly, like we talked about a little bit earlier, the hormone therapy. Like I know how I feel off when I'm compared to when I'm on.
Yeah.
I know how I feel no matter how good it tastes after I eat a fucking giant thing of Whataburger.
Oh, yeah.
And I just like, oh my God. Ugh. Like I know how I feel like that compared to when I eat like a good like meal prep that I have for myself.
Yeah.
But there is absolutely no fucking discipline in going into the drive-thru.
Absolutely. Well,
None. No discipline. None.
At all?
That is so much easier than cooking your own food.
I know it is.
You're
That's
having the
funny.
people behind the fucking counter doing it for you, right?
So it's just kind of and what I'm getting from you is like endurance. And I actually, the more you talk, I'm like, this is such a great word for you. But you know, endurance is don't seek out suffrage, but understanding that
it's necessary for life.
less than ideal circumstances are going to be brought to you. Mm-hmm. And it all comes down to how you choose to navigate through them to get to the other side. And sometimes it involves suffering.
And yes.
Can you endure the sufferance?
Exactly.
Suffrage to see the light.
Precisely. And I think humans in general, all of us suffer one way or another.
Oh, yeah.
I would rather choose my suffering.
Yeah,
I would much rather choose it because again, I think the opposite side of it is we talked about a little bit earlier how you referred to yourself as like a child star. Mm-hmm. Think about the people like Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus, Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, God, Paris Hilton, or Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Think about all the abuse those people went through as children because they were effectively turned into a product.
Yeah.
And then as they're going through puberty, the brain is developing, they're trying to figure out the world around them, and they're getting effectively monetized.
Yeah.
As they're going through their most developed years. It is no wonder they went batshit insane for at least a period of their life.
There's a book about that I really want to read. It's called I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead.
By Jeanette McCurdy.
By Jeanette McCurdy.
She went through it too.
Yep.
And what's sad about that story specifically is we're finding out about all of the abuse, whether it was direct or indirect, that Dan Schneider had on those Nickelodeon stars, namely the females.
That makes you wonder what goes on those child sets, right? Like, because there's so many of those shows, and some of those, the girls are always pretty, and
okay, that is my first thought because I remember being a kid and watching like Hannah Montana. Apparently, there wasn't as much on the Disney sets, but who the fuck knows, right?
Who really knows?
Who the fuck knows? Maybe Disney has a better fucking lawyer.
They have a great NDA.
Yeah, for real, right?
And Mickey Mouse will fuck you up.
Dude, have you seen the South Park with Mickey Mouse and the Jonas Brothers?
No.
I need to send you that. So
Please.
there's an episode where it is the Jonas Brothers, and they're like teasing that Mickey Mouse is forcing them to wear purity rings while putting forward a hypersexualized message to young girls. They mask it by wearing purity rings so they can market it past the parents. And so one of the Jonas Brothers goes, I'm not going to wear my purity ring. And they're backstage and their manager's like, don't do it. The big man's going to come. Don't do it. Don't do it. He's like, no, fuck this. Fuck Disney. Fuck Mickey Mouse. I'm not wearing my fucking purity ring. And they get a call that Mickey Mouse is coming. And a cartoon version of Mickey Mouse comes in the door. And he goes, I heard you don't want to wear the purity rings. And he beats the shit out of like Nick Jonas. Like curb stomps him.
Not Nick.
He's like, are we going to wear the purity rings? And they're like, yeah, we'll wear them. We'll wear them. And they all throw them back on. And oh, yeah. And then like there's a part where the management team, they go out to the crowd and they pick out these middle school girls. And like, yeah, you can go backstage and see the Jonas Brothers. And nothing happens. But there's a moment. It's funny, but it echoes throughout the episode. They have like these 8 girls backstage waiting on the Jonas Brothers. And they're talking to each other. They're like, yeah. I bet they want us to give them blowjobs. I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it either. Fuck these guys. And they all walk out of the dressing room and like, hey, girls, we're the Jonas Brothers. And they're all like, yeah. It's fucking hilarious. But then it's like, well, what? And you to bring it to the original point, yeah, all of the actors, male or female, were a level of attractive. Like I remember watching like iCarly or what was the one Victorious.
Yeah.
Right, watching the thing. Yeah,
Victorious was interesting.
I was like, Miranda Cosgrove, she's fucking cute. The goth girl from Victorious, she's fucking hot. And then I look back on that, and I'm like, okay, how much of that was I was a 13, 11, 12, 13-year-old, like my hormones are kicking in, I'm going through puberty, I'm figuring out like what attraction is, I'm figuring out what sexuality is, I'm figuring out why the fuck my dick's hard all the time, like all this shit. How much of it was that biologically? And then how much of it was, this is like a conscious effort by executives in a boardroom to sell a product, and the sacrifice they're making is sacrificing and sexualizing these underage women. And then when you have that happening, and again, now we find out about Dan Schneider, who is doing all the, and to my knowledge, he never like actually like sexually assaulted or raped anybody, but it was more making these questionable to offensive comments.
Yeah.
The wardrobe choices had to be like finalized, approved, stamped by him. And like, why the fuck are there so many feet in his shows? You know what I mean?
You were going to bring up the feet.
Yeah, well, it's a real thing. You know what I mean? It's like, why are these shows being so hypersexualized when they're being marketed towards middle school and elementary school kids?
Yeah.
And like why?
I don't know.
And then you find out about Harvey Weinstein. And it's like, okay, that's the big leagues of sexual assault in Hollywood.
Holy shit. That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I feel like, honestly, like I feel like the era that we grew up in with those Nick and Disney shows, they don't hold a candle to the way that these shows are sexualized.
I don't even know what's on now. I don't even pay attention to that shit.
Well, fucking Euphoria. Talk about that shit.
Well, yes. Okay, so I agree with that.
Because Euphoria is high school kids.
Yes, so that
audience that's going to tune in.
That's my crossroads, is because on the one hand, it's HBO.
Yeah.
And HBO is synonymous with adult content.
Okay.
Right? Because you got to remember what the platform that HBO started with. It was Rome, The Sopranos, Entourage, very adult-based content. This is not meant for children. This is before the streaming services. Your parents had to pay extra on satellite TV to get those channels. Back then, you could actually, I remember My mom had parental controls, so you had to set a password so your kid couldn't get on like Stars, HBO, Cinemax, and then after 9:30, Skinemax. You couldn't get onto those channels, right? But then again, at the same time now, anybody can get on streaming services.
Anything.
I doubt even if the streaming services offer password protection, hardly anyone uses it.
It's so hard to set up, and then how do you do it per show?
Well, I think it's per account. It's like how you have like a multiple account, but it's like who's going to set that up though?
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to do that? So you're right.
And then kids are so tech savvy, they're going to get around it.
Exactly. And there are kids that are watching Euphoria, and you're right.
Yeah.
And I would love to know. And again, this is not something we're going to find out until a decade and a half from now, how much these type of shows have affected the growing youth. But I mean, it's hard. It's hard to argue against it because I mean, when I was down for my surgery, I watched all of Euphoria.
Yeah.
And my God, like, holy fuck!
Holy fuck!
Like, it's a great show.
Great.
I love the way it's written.
Beautiful to look at.
Yeah. Oh, extremely well shot. I'm quite sad that old boy passed away from suicide because that was
Angus Cloud.
Yes, who played don't tell me Fezco, right? Yeah,
Fez. Fez. Yeah.
And his storyline with the sister of Sydney Sweeney, I forget her name, but his storyline with the sister is really good.
Yeah,
because like the emotional side, I was like, he never got to say I'm sorry for missing the show.
Damn.
Fuck.
Damn.
Like, that sucks.
You were invested, Loki.
Oh, yeah, dude. Dude, I was on a couch for a week straight. I went through that show. I was like, fuck. And he's the best actor in the show.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. It's him, Cal's dad, and...
Cal's dad is real good.
And in the second season, Sydney Sweeney. They are the best actors, actresses in that whole show.
Hunter was a really good actress.
Who was that again?
She's the trans girl.
She was good, too. She was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was really good too. I don't put her in my top 3, but she was good.
Okay.
She was really good.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That whole like the weird love triangle between like the drug dealer, her, and Rue was interesting for sure. Very interesting for sure.
My God. I just love the scene when like she was getting pressed up on at that party. Not pressed up on like she was about to get attacked.
Yeah.
And to prove a point, she grabbed that knife and slit her.
Oh yeah.
And she
crazy
was like,
shit.
"No, I will fuck anybody up in here. Like I just fucked myself up. Like anybody. I loved
crazy shit.
that. When I tell you, my mouth was on the floor. I was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, that was crazy shit.
Yeah.
It just cracked me up because I didn't know this, but I found out afterwards that the guy who plays Cal's dad was a major character in Grey's Anatomy.
Oh.
Yeah, and so knowing that he has a huge acting background, it shows why he outacted everybody.
Yeah.
Right? He like ran circles around everybody. But
and he didn't have a lot of dialogue.
Yes, it was body language.
It was a lot of body
like
language.
That scene in the gas station when like the little kid, the one that got killed at the end of the second season, I forget the kid's name, but he was there, Fezco was there, and then the sister was there.
Yeah.
And that whole interaction. He has like 5 or 6 lines that whole time, and they're very short. It's all body language. You're right.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason we bring this up, the impression on kids, I don't know, but like it's hard to argue against it.
Well, I just think about it because so I watch a lot of Netflix and I think about the show. So you got me right. Okay. Calling out a HBO show it was a bit of a like reach,
but
going
the
back
fact
to like
it still reaches high school kids.
It does.
That's non-negotiable,
especially now in the streaming world with Twitter.
Because of Zendaya and Sydney Sweeney.
Zendaya came from Disney. Like, of course, she's gonna.
Did she really?
On. Yeah, Shake It Up.
I didn't
Bella
know that.
Thorne.
I didn't know that.
Who does OnlyFans now?
I know who Bella Thorne is because she was in that movie, Netflix movie, horror movie, comedy, Babysitter. There we go.
Yeah,
Babysitter.
Terrible movie.
Yeah, not that great to watch. Yeah,
but yeah, no, Zendaya came from Shake It Up. So, of course, she brought her audience. But even if we just think about like Netflix shows that I've been watching, right? I'm a grown man, and I actually love these shows, and some of them I'm like, oh, like that's hot, and then I have to remember I'm like this is taking place with like high school kids, allegedly, but like elite. I don't know if you've heard of that. But like
I'd imagine they're all played by 20-year-olds though.
Yeah, they're all adults.
Yeah.
But like they're in high school. And like in the first episode of Elite, like they have a threesome.
Oh Jesus.
And I'm like, holy shit. Or like sex education. Like
I've seen like the first 3 episodes of that. Yeah.
So did you see when like the bully, like he just like shows his whole cock to the cafeteria and like they show it on camera?
I don't think so.
I'm like, this is literally PG-13. And like, I'm like, I'm looking at a dick swinging on my TV. Like, you know, Never Have I Ever. It's about this Indian girl who like she gives her first blowjob and like, like has, I'm curious, like how you said, we won't know until like 10 to 15 years from now, but I'm wondering like what, like these shows are actually marketed to people who are coming of age because they're considered coming of age shows.
Right.
And they are truly sexualized. Now, there's a beauty to it because it's like, let's be for real. Like we were all somewhere crouched behind a bleacher somewhere.
Well, that's the issue with it for me as well, is I would have more of a problem with this stuff, whether it's like Euphoria or Sex Education or like Big Mouth, right? I would have an issue with these shows more if it wasn't for the fact that the average age in America that someone loses their virginity is 13.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, how much of this is sexualization?
Yeah.
But how much of it is satire?
Yeah.
And they're making fun of the truth.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, so how old are you?
How old am I? 24.
Okay. So I feel like
I've been asked that in a while.
I feel like our generation is the last one where a lot of our friends were having sex in high school only.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, you were like 16, 17, 18.
I didn't have sex till I was in college.
Same here.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So I wonder if how much of it is just that's how we grew up, or it's like you lose your virginity in high school, possibly college, and then now for the kids below us, they're fucking in middle school. But then I think about it. I haven't thought about this in a long time. There were 2, and I went to Lutheran middle school. There were 2 girls that got kicked out of our Lutheran middle school because they flashed two boys in like a back corner of our playground, and they got caught. Yeah, they got caught on the security cameras.
No.
So it's like,
damn.
Maybe it was our generation. Who the fuck knows? But either way, the fact that the average age now is like 13, how much of it is hypersexualization and how much of it is satire?
I feel like a lot of it has to do with hypersexualization just because, like, that's what I was saying is, like, the beauty in the shows is, like, no longer are we pretending like kids at a young age, right?
Aren't figuring
13.
it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, Lil Wayne lost his virginity at, I think he said 12. So, like, you know, those thoughts come about, you know, one day a little boy wakes up with a boner and he's like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. But a lot of, like, in our generation, the shows kind of hit that. Like, it was like a little smooch, like a little peck on the lips at prom. Like, it's a special occasion. I'll kiss you tonight. And, like, now these shows are very much like, oh, you got an A on your test. like, it's just fucking.
Yeah, no, for real.
It's a lot. Like, and I don't know. I feel like all that content is so readily accessible. But that's what I was saying is like, there could have potentially possibly been like a sexual undertone with the shows that we had growing up, whether it was down to the wardrobe, suspected foot fetishes.
Well, and that's the issue is because back then, a strong argument can be made that it was coming from the perverted executives.
Yes. They had their own sexual fantasies that they were bringing to life.
Exactly.
And publicizing.
Because call it what it is. I mean, for whatever reason, at high levels of Hollywood, pedophilia is just there.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying earlier.
For whatever reason, pedophilia is just there.
I want to know what goes on in those boardrooms.
Yeah, no. Yeah, me too. And I want to know, like, what... How do I say this? Like, I would love to know, and this is like, we were talking about mental health earlier. I would love to know, where does that become like a conscious thought in anybody, let alone somebody with power?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, where in his mind, and again, I'd have to assume for Dan Schneider, where did it pop in his head that he was like, well, I can't have sex with these child stars, but I'm going to sexualize them?
Yeah.
Like, or was it a conscious thought? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, how far did that perversion go? How deep was it? And if it was a conscious thought, and if it was a real decision he was making, like, I would have to imagine he didn't express that to anybody.
Yeah.
Because how do you tell someone that? Because that is something I would like to know, is like, for people that make the decision and they are, pedophiles, have they always felt that way? Because I remember like really getting, because after the episode that I did a while back this year with Lillian,
love Lillian. Shout out to Lillian.
Yeah, she's the shit. Yeah, love that woman. She's the shit.
Keep going.
I looked into it, and there's an argument to be made, I guess, online, that a lot of people that are pedophiles, whatever goes on in your brain that basically scales who you're sexually attracted to. Like, you're a high schooler, you're attracted to high schoolers and slightly older.
Yeah.
You're in college girls, slightly older, right? And how that kind of just scales with you as you're going through puberty and you becoming an adult. You increasingly become more attracted to people that are your age, plus or minus 2 years or so, right? I guess there's an argument to be made of like, whatever part of the brain wires that together, for these people, it just stopped at whatever age. Or it stopped at an age group. Yeah. And then it's like, well, do you treat that somehow? Do you cut it out like a cancer from the gene pool? Like, what do you do with that? Because out of all the insanity that's happening in our society right now, for the most part, people agree pedophilia, bad.
Yeah, that is true.
And then you have, that's like 95% of the country. And then you have the 5% of these fucking psychos that are like, and believe in the MAPS movement. I mean, you've heard of that, right?
No, what is that?
The minor attracted persons.
Oh.
And they're trying to make that a part of the LGBTQ plethora.
Right. Yeah, which it will never be. If we want to talk about a community that should be excluded.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just would, as on behalf
of everybody,
of the queer community, pedophiles cannot sit with us. Thank you.
They shouldn't sit with anybody. That's the point, right? It's like, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
And again,
that's a good point.
Unfortunately, because that conversation is in its like grand infancy, it's not going to...
Infancy, great.
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 Whoops.
What a time.
Because it's so young. No, because it's like, because it's like, we don't have a whole lot of data behind it. Who's going to know what it looks like decades from now?
Yeah.
But it's like, but why is it so prevalent amongst elites? Whether it's Hollywood, politicians, big money.
Why?
Like, why?
How? There's a song that I pulled up. It's by Billie Eilish. I don't know if you've heard it. It's called Your Power.
Yeah.
Have you heard that? Mm-hmm. And she's writing that.
I like Billie Eilish.
Oh.
I fuck with Billie Eilish.
That's shocking.
I don't like the new album, but her first one was really good.
Okay, well, this one's from the new album. But it's about that, like the executives in Hollywood and the sexual harassment and stuff. And she says, try not to abuse your power. I know we didn't choose to change. You might not want to lose your power, but having it's so strange. And then she goes like, I thought that I was special. You made me feel like it was my fault. You were the devil. You lost your appeal. Does it keep you in control for you to keep her in her cage?
Well, because specifically with Billie Eilish, the plethora of fucking weirdos that came out after she was 18.
Yeah.
Like,
and then she started showing her body a little bit more too. That was wild.
And okay, so that was my second point.
Yeah.
After she turns 18,
Yeah.
she starts doing all of these shoots. So again, because that shows you how ugly that business is, right? Because how many of her managers, how many of those record label producers, executives were looking at her like, okay, we need to get her when she's 15, 16 now. Because we're seeing how she's developing.
Yeah.
And when she turns 18, cover of Vogue magazine, album shoots. This is what she's going to wear on tour. All these like provocative things they have lined up. It's like, what? Like, okay, you can only take your business respects so far. Mm-hmm. It's like, bro, come the fuck on.
I would just wonder, like, I think you asked such a good question. Like, why are these executives like, why is everyone either a pedophile or like a sexual assaulter, I guess? Because when you think about like,
I can tell you the sexual assault thing for sure.
I'm sure the TV industry is terrible, but I feel like I know like more stories in the music industry. Like Lady Gaga was.
Oh, her and Kesha were very
I was going to bring that up.
Very outspoken about that.
I just saw a video on my timeline today of Cardi B talking about how she was doing a magazine shoot, and the photographer was like, "Oh, you want to be like in the magazine? You want to be on the cover, right?" And then he just pulls his dick out, like in the middle. Yeah, in the middle of the shoot. And then she went and told the head of the shoot, and the head looked at her.
Holy shit!
Yeah, like that's insane? Like, how do people like? And to be that confident about that. That you know that you're gonna get away with it because you've gotten away with it before.
Yeah.
So now you're operating.
Definitely wasn't the first.
You're operating on the premise that I have no consequences for doing this. You know.
Right.
And in fact, just like Billie was referencing in her song, I hold all the power to your career. So you can either do this for a quick 15 minutes and have a great 15 years, or.
I just every Glock is a year in your fucking career.
Every Glock. as long as you could take this dick.
Yeah,
that's how long your career is going to be.
That's how they think. And
isn't that crazy?
Well, the two examples that come into mind,
it like makes me shiver.
The slightly less extreme is Joss Whedon. So when he was apparently, after he had stepped in to direct the reshoots for Justice League, and all that nonsense happened, I guess a bunch of stories came out from the 90s when he was directing a show called Firefly.
Okay. Heard of it.
He was being fucking abusive and weird. Not abusive, but he was just making weird passive things against a lot of the female actors. But on the set of Justice League, like if you watch, not for like the crazy differences in the just aesthetically and the storytelling wise, but if you watch like the 2-hour version that came out in the theaters and the 4-hour version that came out on HBO Max between the 2017 Justice League and the Zack Snyder Justice League, there's a lot of differences. But one of the weirder ones is how sexualized Wonder Woman is in the 2017 by Joss Whedon. Like there's a flat out joke where there's this battle in a tunnel where the Flash, he falls down, or no, Wonder Woman falls down chest up, and the Flash falls down on top of her and like lays there for a second. They lock eyes and it gets kind of sexual, and he like speeds up and he's like acting weird and he runs away. And then there's a weird shot of Wonder Woman when she's laying down and her hair is like all spread out and her tits are up, and it's just a weird like missionary type shot. Like it's a weird, like right on shot of Wonder Woman, right? Mm-hmm. That sequence in the Zack Snyder version it doesn't exist. Oh. The original version of that sequence is when they all fall down into the tunnel, the Flash ends up getting carried away by these demons, by these enemy combatants, and Wonder Woman cuts their heads off and saves him.
Oh.
And that's all it is. But in the Joss Whedon version, it's very sexualized. And then it came out after they were done shooting that he told Gal Gadot that if she doesn't shoot these specific scenes, he's going to ruin her career and she will never be Wonder Woman again and she'll never work again. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then him, Tony Emmerich, who was an executive at WB at the time, he's fired now. And then Jeff Johns, who really breaks my heart because, like, growing up and reading comic books, he was like one of the up and coming, rising, and one of the most prolific comic book writers ever for DC Comics. Like, he's written most of their best storylines are by him over the last 20 years. Like, he is a phenomenal comic book writer. But then, when Justice League happened, it's then Toby Emmerich and Joss Whedon, they were talking about how, well, we have to reshoot this movie and we do all these rewrites. Okay, we're going to get rid of all of Cyborg's backstory because we don't want an angry black man at the center of our movie.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Bunch of fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Absolute fucking assholes. So we're talking about assault and specifically like sexual assault in the film industry. The Joss Whedon one with Gal Gadot is the one that comes to mind. But then, obviously, the big one is Weinstein.
Yeah.
Right? Did you ever read like the court documents of that shit?
No, I hate reading.
So, right. We've established that. Right. So, apparently, and I forget which actress like took the stand. I forget her name. But she was detailing about how she was invited to his hotel room. And when she walked in, all he was wearing was a robe.
I have heard that.
And he was this big fat guy, obviously. So he drops his robe. Dick is out. But she looked at it and laughed. And she thought he was a transgender mid-transition. Because his dick had partial necrosis.
What is that?
Basically, that means that part of the flesh and muscle was dying. So he had like a deformed dick.
Okay.
Yeah. So he had it's a bacterial thing, as far as I know, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So basically, his dick looked deformed.
Okay.
And at that time, and I'm circling this around to like the idea of power behind sexual assault, especially in these industries. Because of his age, obviously his hormones are very low. He doesn't have the ability to have an erection if he had a normal dick anyway, right? Because he's like late 60s into his 70s at this point. Before he raped these women, whether it was forcibly holding them down and doing what he did, or through coercion, making them do things to him or letting him do things to them, he had to inject fucking some basically boner serum into his dick, the type of shit that porn stars use. Had to inject this shit into his dick so he could get an erection and do what he wanted to do. So he didn't have, the reason I bring this up is he didn't have the biological ability to be aroused by these women. He just saw a person who needed his help and his influence.
Yep.
And he wanted to make sure he still had power.
Yep. Boom. That's a mind fuck. Harvey.
There's a reason this shit makes news, bro. It's worth looking into. Because you just go down this rabbit hole of just disgusting shit. And it's like, what the fuck is actually... Yeah. Do I even want to make a lot of money and get into this shit?
Do you really want to?
You know what I mean?
That's why they say the biggest stars have sold their soul. That's why they say that.
See, and I never really believed that until Lil Nas X and Doja Cat.
Doja Cat, what the fuck? What's
their
wrong with Doja Cat?
Their recent music videos.
Now, hold on.
They just, again, I'm not, okay, I'll preface this by saying I don't regularly listen to their music. Well, that's not true. I still listen to a bit of like Lil Nas X's old stuff. I'll preface by saying I'm not the most well-informed. I'm not the most well-educated on their music, their product, right? All I know is like this stuff caught headlines, so I watched the respective music videos, and there was just like a thing in the back of my head that was like, that's a little more than just provocative art. And because I have a stomach for a lot of shit. Like I have a stomach for like expressing yourself through art form, whether it's like provocative music videos or horror films with excessive amounts of gore and whatever it is, right? Like I can understand that. But there was just something in the back of my head that made me go, okay, this is like, okay, how much of this is them saying fuck you to a certain industry or them saying fuck you to a certain group of people or whatever it is. But then how much of this is like actual, yeah, you sold your soul. You're being influenced by these industry titans to make a product that will like specifically reject a certain ideal or reject a certain thing. Like how much of this is like beyond money and it gets into the realm of actual evil. And again, because the way my brain works, I do come from like a Christian background with that type of belief set. So I do have that influencing me and I recognize that. But because of that, I do recognize that there is a good and there is an evil and they both coincide and they both work against each other. And I think that like, yeah, there's something in the back of my head that's made me go like, that's something different. There's an element, I don't think it's holistically evil, but there's an element to that where it's like, that's not just to make money. There's something other influencing that.
I will give you that for maybe possibly Lil Nas, even though that's my baby. And you know, I can't say nothing bad about him because I don't want to fuck up my bag. Sitting here fucking around with you. Over here calling my baby daddy. Goddamn. Say it, worshiper. You could think what you want to think. I feel like with Doja Cat, though, I feel like Doja Cat is the epitome of like an actual artist. And I feel like she has always done things that are provocative or, you know, there's another word. But just, I feel like she's always done stuff like that. And we see it throughout music's history. I mean, like Lady Gaga had Judas, you know, Madonna had the cross hanging from her coochie. Yeah. Okay, Michael Jackson had Thriller, of course.
Thriller wasn't evil, though. Bro, he turned into a zombie and then a werewolf. That ain't evil. You're telling me Thriller is evil?
It's not evil, but it's very I can't talk today, but it's very much like graveyard devil demon vibes.
No. Dude,
they literally rise from graves.
There's zombies in the 80s.
And what are zombies? Undead souls from hell.
Okay, no, they're not. They are reanimated corpses. That's the whole point. Is like, they're not your mother anymore. They're not your wife. It's a zombie. That's the whole.
Dumb.
Well, no, and then the whole voiceover is from Vincent Price, who's like the grandfather of all American horror.
Okay, fine. We'll get rid of Michael.
Yeah, but Michael is not evil. Now, granted, he may or may not have done some dastardly shit towards the end of his life, but
we're not going to diss Michael.
Yeah, Black Michael was not evil. Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like I don't know. I definitely do see a lot of movement, though, whether it be like embracing hell and the devil, or like just other things to be like. To sell. I don't know how this thought is going to come off, but have you like kept up with Sam Smith?
Yes, I've seen, okay, not like how I say it, not like religiously. Like I haven't like watched everything he's doing, but I've seen the highlights from both the left and the right. And yeah, his stuff too has got, again, like I just look at it, whether it's like snippets of his videos, excuse me, or just pictures of him on stage. And I just look at it and I'm like there's something different. Like, so like our parents in the 80s or the 70s, they looked at people like Led Zeppelin or Motley Crue or Black Sabbath or Kiss.
See, exactly.
Right? They looked at them as demonic because they were loud and they had makeup on with long hair.
And they were biting the heads off of bats.
Well, so apparently Ozzy Osbourne, he was told by his prop master it was a fake bat.
It was not a fake bat.
Right. He was told it was a fake bat, but they gave him it was a dead bat, but it was a real one. Apparently that was a whole mix-up. And he's done multiple interviews about it, and like the prop master himself has said he fucked up. Like, they're playing a prank on Ozzy and it went wrong. Yeah, allegedly, right? But my point is though, is you look at people like those bands. Mm-hmm. Now they're classic rock. Like you can look at them like, they're a bunch of fucking guys who want to push the envelope for back then and wear makeup and sing about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
So why is that? Why is it okay for them to like be like Satan 666, but like
right.
when
It's
Lil Nas comes out
like
with the 666 shoes,
right.
like it's a problem.
Well, I think a great discriminator for that is Lil Nas when he made his music video when he was riding a stripper pole down to hell when he twerked on the devil. I think that was a bit much for
a regular weekend in the club.
I just think that was a bit much for a lot of the imagery of that was a bit much for a lot of people. But then I will sympathize because Motley Crue, one of their most famous songs, On the Name of Rock and Roll, the opening line is, and I don't know how people overlook this, or maybe they just accept it and move on. The opening line is, she's only 15, but she's the reason I can't sleep. That's the opening line to one of their most famous songs. And they were in their 20s when they wrote that. Yeah. So there's an argument. Yeah. So it's like there's an argument to be made. Did they reach a point where they accepted a couple of things about Hollywood as they've been going on since then? Maybe there is, and maybe there's the outliers in entertainment, right? Where they make their money and they just don't really do a whole lot. And maybe those are the people that aren't outright political.
Yeah.
They make the decision to whatever. But the people that go to the extremes, right? And today we're obviously experiencing a lot of entertainers that go to the hyper left. Maybe these are the people that they want to make it to the next like tax bracket, or they want to make it to the next level of millionaire.
Yeah.
They want to start touching billionaire.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, you want to get past a certain level, well, you're going to have to start talking about this. You're going to have to do this. Or maybe, again, this is like tinfoil hat conspiracy nonsense, but maybe they do meet with some fucking satanic people, some genuinely evil people.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey man, them, you want to fucking make this much money? You want this kind of record deal? Here's what you got to align with. Here's what you got to do.
And honestly, if you put that lens on it, Lil Nas's Little Hell video was nothing more than a political statement and a cry for help.
A cry for help?
That's all it was. He was blinking twice, and the world turned. The world turned on him. He said, this is what it's like being in the music industry.
It's like twerking on the devil and having fun.
That was Harvey.
Well, I mean,
he said, I'm the biggest thing out right now, and this is how I got it. I had to go to hell and back to get here. And while I was in hell, I did some things I regret.
When we were talking about execution.
Buy these damn shoes.
I forgot about that. The shoes with the blood in them. I forgot all about that. When we were talking about execution earlier, and maybe the execution of that wasn't as good as it could have been. But I don't know. It's interesting to think about, like, maybe, and again, this is coming from like the religious background of myself, but maybe it's like, yeah, most people who don't sell their soul that way won't make it to the riches, but maybe there's something better in the afterlife, or maybe there's, whatever it is, right?
Yes.
But there is, especially now that as the internet evolves, as reach evolves, the amount of things we're learning about government and big entertainment and all this stuff, it's not becoming less evil. You know what I mean?
Not.
It's not like you're pulling back the curtain and it's sunshine and rainbows.
No.
Like, you just keep pulling it back and you just see the worst that humanity has to offer.
Absolutely.
And it's like, what the fuck, bro?
Yes.
Like, I thought we were just having fun here.
No.
I thought we were just making music, making good movies, fun TV shows.
No.
Like, what the fuck?
These people are choosing their suffrage.
I don't know if that's. I just think it's pure hell.
I mean, yeah,
You know what I mean? I think I think a lot of them are choosing an element of true, like, again, just because of what I believe, I really do think it's an element of true evil. Like, there's a real evil that's acting, and it masks itself with fame and fortune and money and all that type of shit.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Kanye always talks about that. I don't like Kanye, though.
Dude, Kanye, we can end on that. Kanye is an interesting character to study.
Very.
because
And he's made a lot of valid points. His delivery isn't always spot on.
yeah, when Alex Jones is the most sane person in the room, maybe you got to reevaluate. Because Alex Jones is, again, his delivery's not great, but he's been right about most of the shit he talks about. Up into, like, have you noticed just in general that people are talking about COVID a little bit more?
Yes.
I'm sick with COVID. Oh, where am I? Dude, he leaked it in end of July, beginning of August. He went on his show and he was like, hey, I had a whistleblower from the TSA come to me saying that a couple of major airports are going to start implementing COVID mandates again, mass distancing, all that stuff, and that the colleges are going to, and I've heard that the colleges are going to start doing it too from an unnamed source. Just keep an eye out for it. And obviously he's like, well, you can choose not to do it. You can, all that stuff, right? Not even 3 weeks later, Lionsgate, the production company, they, at some of their locations, both in America and Europe, started imposing full-on COVID, like mass distancing, all that shit. A lot of colleges on the Eastern Coast started putting on the COVID mandates. And even now, here in New Mexico, there are a lot of companies that are starting to do the COVID stuff again.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, maybe he's just a coot and he was playing his cards right, or maybe he had an actual source that was right. And maybe when we start turning into the holiday season, into Thanksgiving, into Christmas, like he said, the mask mandates are going to start coming back. The COVID mandates are coming back right in time for election season. Right. But anyway, but we're going to end on Kanye. Kanye West. So, again, his delivery about sympathizing with Hitler, not good. There was no justification for that. There was no explanation for that. Like, have you seen that full clip of him and Alex Jones?
Yes.
Where he's saying something about Hitler, and I was like, well, I mean, the Third Reich did have nice uniforms, but they were doing the really bad things, and they were the enemy. And Kanye's like, no, I understand Hitler the man. And it's like, no.
Can't be saying that.
No.
But then he said that, though, allegedly, because he wanted to get out of his contract with Adidas.
Right.
And he knew.
Right.
He knew that they would drop him after that.
Right.
And now he's like happy as a free agent.
And you can look at that and you can say maybe he's telling the truth, or maybe he realized what he was saying, and to cover himself, it's like, well, I'm telling the truth and they're going to drop my deal, you know.
But I did just see a clip of him. I did just see a clip of him from the past where he's on the phone arguing with Scooter Braun. And he's actually talking about like how he doesn't want his deal anymore. He doesn't want to do anything. Like, he's too big to be held back.
If I had to theorize about it, maybe. I think the tipping point, I think the real, like, the ignition of all this was his mom passing.
Yes, I would agree.
Right? I think he was putting up with the Hollywood bullshit and the entertainment bullshit, but then his mom passed, and he's like, okay, fuck this. Right? Yeah. But then I think the last, like, the 1,000 straws that broke the camel's back was him dealing with the Kardashians.
Really?
Dude, if there is any family that has sold their soul, it's the Kardashians.
I would agree, but...
Because you look at any male figure that has entered that family, with the exception of Travis Barker, in one way or another, their careers got fucked with. And they, like, almost changed as people. And the one that I really paid attention to was Kanye West. And then if you look at, I've been seeing, like, you know, like Snapchat has those, like, almost tabloid-esque tiles.
Yes. Well, and they're so clickable.
Yes. But I saw one about, like, Northwest, whatever her fucking name is.
That's her name.
Well, I started looking into it, and apparently, like, she has just straight up been acting out against, like, paparazzi and her family, like, calling it all bullshit and calling it, like, disgusting. She doesn't want to be any a part of it, but then, like, not letting her be with Kanye West because he's, like, off in, like, Europe or Italy, where the fuck he's at. But, and then have you heard Kanye's new song?
No.
Oh, it's good.
How new is it?
Like a week ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a freestyle, and it's not even under his name. Yeah.
Who's it under?
That's a good fucking question. Let's see.
Kanye is such a character. I feel like Kanye made the Kardashians. Oop, said it.
He probably brought him back. I don't know shit about the Kardashians, like popularity wise.
Like, I didn't want to be this person, but Kim's outfits and overall aesthetic just has not been hitting the same.
So it's by a guy named Rundown Spaz. That's what it is.
Rundown Spaz.
Yeah, but it's a freestyle, and he gets in there about 40 seconds in, and it's really good. And he just starts talking shit, and he has a line in there where he goes, he says something like, "I told the truth, but nobody believed me."
Oh,
yeah. And it's like, okay, well, it's one thing to stand by what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I guess I respect that. But on the other hand, it's like, what are you standing by? Are you standing by the fact that Hollywood is corrupt and that the music industry is corrupt and they will keep you in line and they'll steal billions from you? Or are you standing by the Hitler comments? You know what I mean? Damn. Because two things can be true at once. He can expose corruption, but through the corruption and the wrongs that have been dealt by him, or been dealt to him, he can now become an anti-Semite.
Wow.
Two things can be right at once.
That's so extreme.
Am I wrong though?
No.
Because I don't think it's anti-Semitic to say that the majority of executives in Hollywood are Jewish.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
Yes.
And
why is that?
Because they came over from, so when a lot of Jewish families came over escaping the Holocaust, they all landed in New York. And New York was the big entertainment capital at the time. Huh. And as they started expanding west, they all landed in California. And that's where Hollywood came from. That's just recorded history. Yeah. That's like the most bare bones, like broken down version of it.
So they just landed in New York and
yeah, because that was like, well, that
took over.
Well, that's what made the Statue of Liberty famous, was the Irish families that came over during the famine, and then later on during World War II, all of the Jewish families that were escaping during the Holocaust that finally made it into Europe and then into America. They all came because of the Statue of Liberty, and obviously it's like the closest coastline.
What do you mean they came because of a statue?
Well, because that's what they first saw, right? When they were coming in to the American coastline, they saw the Statue of Liberty.
That's crazy.
And like, oh shit, this is home. Like, we have now reached freedom. We are no longer under the Third Reich, apocalypse that's happening over there.
Wow.
Right? And so as these Jewish families came and they made settlement, I guess, like they made homes for themselves in New York.
Yeah.
And they started expanding west. A lot of them were like, okay, well, there's a lot of like cool things happening in New York. Let's make it happen in California, because it's another beautiful spot. It's got the beach. It's the fucking other coastline. And then this is also there are a lot of, I could be totally wrong about this. I could be totally wrong. But what I believe what I read was there were descendants of the bigger families in California that had made their money and their fortune during the gold rush. So those descendants mixed with a lot of the immigrants, and then you now have Hollywood.
Okay.
I think. I could be totally wrong, but I am like 90% confident in that.
That's crazy.
So yeah, that's why you have a lot of Steens and Bergs on the coast.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's made a full circle, chat.
Yeah. that's just a fact. But that's why that's a big reason why a lot of the entertainment, especially in New York, is ran by Jewish families.
Yeah.
Because they had all came during like the rise. Because you gotta remember, it went Great Depression, and then the only thing that were keeping America, like again, and we can see this in recorded history, like statistically, one of the number one things that were keeping people alive during the Great Depression were the movies.
Huh.
If you could afford to go to the movies, you would go to the movies because you pay 10 cents and then you get to escape the literal hell that's outside for about an hour. Because movies back then only were like an hour to hour and a half.
Yeah.
They weren't these like 3-hour long fucking monsters we have now. They were only about an hour to an hour and a half, give or take. So you go to the movies and you spend 10 cents, 5 cents a pop, and you get to escape, the extreme poverty that's going on. And so coming out of World War II, and we have the great economic boom of America, like, okay, now we can actually start pumping money back and we can actually have an entertainment industry. We can have both film and theater. That was never a thing before.
Yeah.
Theater shut down during the Depression. There was no theater. Nobody gave a fuck about theater, right? Because you couldn't pay the actors. So theater fucking shut down. So now you have post-World War II, you've got film, you have theater, and now you have crazy industry booming. The automation industry is booming, right? So all these people that immigrated into New York, they almost start moving away, and they make their way down, and they find themselves in California. And you have Hollywood.
I thought you didn't know history.
Not history of the Mexicans. I know the history of America.
I'm dead. You're so funny.
Well, dude, that was almost fucking 3 hours right there.
I know. That's insane.
Beautiful time.
I know. Well, next time I'm here, I want to talk about love.
Love.
Yeah.
That will be the beautiful third chapter.
Yes.
To a trilogy.
I think so.
Yes.
This is so fun. Thank you for having me back.
Dude, thank you for coming. This is always a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this.
I've been looking forward to this for, literally. I love it. And it's so funny because I hate the sound of my voice, but I love coming here and just talking to you and
awesome,
bouncing ideas off of you. We probably sound like two idiots.
I don't fuck. I love doing it.
I said it with my chest. I said what I said.
Fuck yeah. Well, thank you again for coming back.
Yes.
And we will definitely do this again and again and again. So
absolutely. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for part 3.
Yes. Thank you everyone for listening and watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye everybody.